with the curb. Always in the backseat singing like a bird. Oh no, take me to the good life. Stranger on the mountain, hanging on your words. Walking in a nightmare, everything is blurred. Oh no, take me to the good times. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Robbers in the spaceship, crashing through the air. Devils in the details, leopards in your hair. Oh no, I can see the future. Take another picture, drop it on your tongue. Let your body burn down, breathe it in your lungs. Oh no, take me to your leader. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Take you to the red line, bring you with the force. Bury deep in your mind, soldier in the war. Oh no, you can run, but you can't hide. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Drink, think deeply as I sink. Finally, someplace I found peace in the dark of night. Tabletops, counters in the early hours. Stone cold inside. Banging drops, dancers, never needing answers. We wander all alone, but we can't find the street lights go. We wander all alone, but we can't deny we are the street light people. Pills, thrills, chasing whatever kills. For so long, I forgot how it feels in the dark of night. Tabletops, counters in the early hours. Stone cold inside. Banging drops, dancers, never needing answers. We wander all alone, but we Only darkness inside of me. I wish I could find you, but I can't see. Like a flower needs the rain, I need your love to help me kill my pain. I wanna find you, I wanna know who you are, 'cause I'm alone tonight and I need someone to care about me now. We go round, we go round, we go round, we go only dark, like a flower need, flower. I wanna find you, I wanna know who you are, 'cause I'm alone tonight and I need someone to care about me now. We go round, we go round, we go round, we go
Hello and welcome everybody to Rampage Dominate Premade Week 4.
Off to a strong start.
I am your host, Goldline, this evening to your color classing. I'm joined by the lovely Cole. We are going to be witnessing Keola's Areolas versus Scott's Tots today. Cole, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, this is just both teams' name game 10 out of 10. Scott's Tots, Keola's Areolas. Someone in the schedule knew that we had to make sure that the teams with names that rhymed had to be facing off against one another. So props to them for that. Both teams coming into this week, they're 2-1. They've each actually only won one match. One team picked up a win through forfeit. Another team picked up a win through roster eligibility rules. Their opponent beat them, but with an illegal substitution that shouldn't have been allowed to play. So they're both 1-1 in reality, both 2-1 in practice. They're both looking to make the playoffs right now, though not the strongest teams in their group. They're in a playoff spot. So now that we're outside of group play, we're getting into the first time teams are seeing opponents that they haven't seen before. It's going to be interesting to see how the different groups match up against one another. This should be an even matchup in theory. Both teams at 1-1 means that they've got some strengths and some weaknesses, so it'll be interesting to see how they match up and line up against one another.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we do see a lot of strong bands banned off on both sides. The Silas, the Kindred, and the Nami banned on the side of Scott's Tots. All three of those are really strong picks at the moment. On the side of Keola's Areolas, we do have Vladimir, Rennington, and Lulu. Lulu's a really strong targeted band right now. Blonde Halfling does play a lot of Lulu. I believe it's their most played support, and it does support the hyper carry meta. That's kind of making its way back in with the crit 80 carry, so that's a very good targeted ban.
Yeah, and the Rek'Sai first pick, very similar. It's such a power pick right now in this meta. Rek'Sai is one of the strongest junglers in League of Legends. Even with the nerfs to her ultimate, she's been great, so that first pick is coming in big. The interesting thing is that Silas ban, he was nerfed this most recent patch, and effectively kneecapped. He's hardly a champion anymore. But with Rek'Sai, the answer is going to be the Olaf. Olaf has a great job dueling Rek'Sai 1v1 once he hits that level 6. The Rek'Sai knockup doesn't come through. Olaf doesn't really mind and will just smash his face into a Rek'Sai. If they do a stat check, Olaf is going to come out on top. Paired with the Sivir pick coming in second, that's a lot of power of just running in a straight line. CC immune, sped up, it's pretty deadly. So that's a great 1-2 combo from Keola's Areolas starting off this draft. Scott's Tots is going to reply with the Urgot pick. He's also hilariously strong right now. Even though he got nerfed, he's still a great pick. His ultimate is one of the best abilities in the game, especially if you can get 2 or 3 man fears. You get that fear beyond death, and then it's just about carving up the enemy team.
And lastly, we do see him hovering the Ahri for the moment. We'll see if they actually lock it or not. That is a pretty safe mid lane comfort pick for a lot of champions or a lot of players at this point. I haven't been able to take a look for foreign guy quite yet. I don't think it's up too high for him, but it is definitely a very safe pick with her ultimate. You know, if you get caught out, it can be used as a very strong safety tool. So it is not too dangerous to pick it blind, and they are going to lock it in.
What do you think about blind picking both top lane and mid lane, though? That's something interesting that we're not used to seeing too often.
That is very strange on their part, but it's one of those things where Urgot is just so broken right now that does he actually have a bad matchup? And same for Ahri, like while she can have some rougher matchups, it's nothing she particularly loses. It is definitely a strange guy and goes against what we normally see from teams doing, but if you're going to do it, these aren't the worst picks to go with, and we do see Keola's Areolas replying with an Orianna who is just as safe against their Ahri's assassination attempts.
And so now that we're moving on to the second phase of bans, Scott's Tots knows that Keola's Areolas doesn't have a top laner, so they can look to pinch that role. That's likely what that Galio ban is, or that also could be a Galio support ban. We know that KA actually is willing to pick that, so perhaps they're just blind picking the Urgot and saying, we don't care what you're going to counter us with.
Yeah, a lot of targeted bans on the AD carries on the side of Keola's Areolas. They don't want the Vayne or the Jinx. Quang just play a lot of hyper carries, so both of those are probably the 2 strongest hyper carries in the game right now. So they're just taking both of those away, make sure to give themselves as much room as possible. And we just see another support ban coming out of Scott's Tots with the Zyra. Very strong, oppressive support pick. Pi Dude just seemed to play a little bit, not a whole lot, but enough that it's just one of those things you don't want to deal with in lane.
Rumble looks like he's going to be locked in as the answer to that Urgot. It's an interesting way to kind of try and deal with what Urgot has to offer. It's saying, rather than pick a tank that's going to get shredded anyway, how about we just pick a damage threat in response? Then we see the Thresh getting hovered by Scott's Tots. That's a kind of very versatile pick, especially when you don't see the other team's support. You're not totally sure what you're facing up against. You know that there's a Sivir. So that can make the Thresh hooks a little harder to land, which is a little unfortunate, but Thresh is great at going in, he's great at going out, he has excellent peel. Great way to engage with an Urgot as well if he lands a hook on someone else and uses the Lantern as the Thresh Express to bring that Urgot right into the middle of a team fight. That's going to be something that Scott's Tots may be looking to do. And finally, we see the Kai'Sa locked in, so that's their bot lane. They pinch 2 supports and then pick a really decent bot lane, and Kai'Sa also a great denial pick to make sure that there's no hyper carry coming in from KA. They really wanted at least one great scaling AD carry, but they instead have none.
Yeah, and it looks like Pi Dude is going to be hovering this Braum for the final pick here, which is a good counter to the Thresh as far as lane safety goes. He's able to keep his AD carry very safe. Thresh does, I mean, as far as 1v1 goes, Thresh does have a little more power over Braum simply because you can block the hook, but you still get hooked in by Braum at that point, so it's kind of a 50-50 trade at that point. Not something Braum really wants to look to do for. I do like the Rumble pick into Urgot, though. That is a buffed Rumble. He just got buffed recently, more movement speed, level 1 on the shield on his W, and also lower cooldown on his ult, which offers him a lot more team fighting sooner than it used to in the past. So, and he does have the ability to get in, if he's going to be up close and fighting Urgot, Rumble actually does that really well in the top lane.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at these 2 comps on the whole. I see Scott's Tots just really has a ton of power picks. Between the Urgot, the Rek'Sai, the Kai'Sa, Ahri's really solid in the mid lane right now. Their comp isn't any one idea, it isn't anything too crazy, it's just a lot of strong, versatile champions that can do a lot of different things. They can look to win this game really any way they want. They've got decent dive, they've got decent objective control, they've got a good team fight. Whereas if we look over at KA with Olaf, Sivir, and an Orianna and a Rumble, and a Braum even, all they're looking to do is team fight. They can press Sivir R, press Olaf R, put the Orianna ball on that Olaf. It's an unconventional ball delivery system, but it's a ball delivery system nonetheless. With that said, we are now in-game. We have landed onto the fountains, so we are looking to get into Game 1 of Scott's Tots versus Keola's Areolas.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how both these teams try and operate these comps. As you mentioned, there is basically Scott's Tots is we're just going to pick the top tier in his position, and hopefully that does enough power to win by stats alone at the moment. And then Keola's Areolas, that they're looking to run people down. Actually, Scott's Tots doesn't have very much outside to answer that, except for the Thresh cage, and that's a little bit of denial, maybe a charm to kind of stop the engage. But that's be a lot of people just straight running at you unanswered. That could be really scary.
Yeah, with Kai'Sa, of course, she has the DPS necessary to melt down someone like Olaf if she can get a few autos off. But the question is always going to be, who wins first, the Olaf or the Kai'Sa? Kai'Sa can't really kite from an Olaf all that effectively. She can use her ultimate, but if there's an Orianna ball on that Olaf, and that catches the Kai'Sa with the shockwave, then that's going to be one dead 80 carry. And then there's not a ton of DPS left over to get through the tankiness of an Olaf. Urgot can do damage, but you don't really want to rely on your top laner to be your high DPS threat in any given team fight. So a lot of pressure is going to be on Quang to make sure that these fights go in the way of Scott's Tots.
Exactly. Urgot's in the middle, kind of that middle of the team fight kind of person. He wants to help clean up a low target and then use that fear on his ultimate to actually destroy a team fight and snowball out of control. But yeah, he's not going to be the person who's doing all their damage up front unless he gets super far ahead. We do see everybody taking up just regular defense positions at the moment here. Looks like both junglers are actually going to be starting on the bot side of the jungle. Probably looking to affect this top lane since it is the Urgot versus Rumble. This is one where if you can get your top laner ahead, they're going to have a lot more impact in this game than the usual like tank matchup, so to speak.
What do you think about nothing going on with that Braum pick? We all know, everyone knows, that Braum level 1 is the strongest level 1 in the game. I mean, maybe there's some other champions in the running, but with that passive stun, he's so good. So the 5-man spread, what do you think? Is that what you want to be doing with the Braum all the time?
Most likely not, especially because you have the Olaf axe, so if you do tag someone with the Q, he could take the axe first and just run someone down very quickly. But, I mean, against Thresh with the hook and ignite, that is enough that it could shut down a bad invade if you don't get the Q off first in that situation. So that's probably why they opted for the more safer pick. And they're probably just kind of looking to see what the junglers want to do on each side so they can decide what they want to do at that point.
Yeah, so we see Rek'Sai doing standard Rek'Sai pathing, going red buff right to Krugs, getting level 3 as quickly as possible. Krugs give a little more XP than every other camp. A little bit of fighting looking like it might happen at the Crab, but the KA bot lane there to bully Rek'Sai out of the river, so Olaf now has Crab control. But now we see instead the Ahri collapsing on there. The charm just misses, and it looks like Melonloss is going to be just fine to get away with that Crab.
Yeah, he's going to be very happy with how that went down. That is a big advantage you have with Sivir early. She can shove the first wave in so fast, which gives him that priority. Rek'Sai was getting ready to brawl with Olaf in that moment, but Melonloss had his backup faster, and so that's why Rek'Sai had to back out of that situation.
Yep, priority always going to be a big, huge factor, especially concerning these early Scuttle Crabs. So that's something you always got to keep an eye out for. The Olaf Rek'Sai 1v1, it's going to be determined by which teammates get there first. Both junglers perfectly fine at dueling in the early game, so with that Sivir priority, it's big for them. Thresh Hook lands onto Braum, but there's not going to be a ton of follow-up. As soon as that Unbreakable Will comes out, there's just not much damage going down onto him.
Yeah, he was able to absorb that very well. He does have the Guardian for his rune as well, so when they take damage like that, he eats almost nothing.
Melonloss looks to be getting a little caught out. This Rek'Sai has a red buff. Olaf only has a blue, with a God of Love showing up on Urgot. That's going to be first blood going down to Doc on the Rek'Sai. And now Orianna, Tropical Crayon, looking a little out of position as well. Ahri chasing her down. All it's going to be is one charm, and that's going to be enough for a kill, but it does not land. And Tropical Crayon's just going to walk out. Ignite burn by Foreign Guy, Flash burn by Tropical Crayon, first blood down to Scott's Tots. They come out on top of that trade, 1-0.
Yeah, Melonloss got a little excited there. He thought he had a big enough lead getting both Scuttles on the Rek'Sai to take that fight, but the thing we had just talked about priority, when you go into the blue buff like that and your Rumble's not already coming down the river, a God of Love was able just to walk his way to his jungler and back him up super quickly, and they were able to turn that in no time and kill the Olaf.
Something else worth mentioning is that when you start on the bot side of the map, you're going to have blue buff. The Rek'Sai has the red buff. That's just a little more dueling potential, that extra damage over time. Not going to be a massive difference, but when it's so close and you have the Rek'Sai flashing away with less than 100 HP, red buff can be the difference maker, so that's something to consider when you're taking those fights as a jungler.
Yeah, that is a small mistake on his side there. Just getting a little bit excited with what the early lead he thought he had there. So not going to be the end of the world. Olaf is actually still going to be tied in CS, but giving that first blood over to Rek'Sai does give the small advantage and pretty much puts him right back on even after losing both those Scuttles. So Rek'Sai is not going to be too upset about what happened there.
Yeah, I'll take a first blood. I would much prefer first blood. Double scuttle, you hate to get double scuttle. They have so much experience and gold packed into them now, but first blood's just worth more. It's 400 gold. The scuttles are worth no more than 200 this early in the game, so it's just throwing away the lead that you generated. A little bit too much aggression on the part of that Olaf.
Yeah, especially
no flash, especially. It's hard to get out and away from that Urgot.
Yeah, and we also, Olaf and Rek'Sai do have the similar fact in that they're kind of high damage, early level 3 junglers who do a lot of damage and help their lane snowball or snowball themselves into the mid game. And so when one of those people get first blood, the snowball advantage is heavily favoring that person. So Rek'Sai's going to be hopefully able to take with that. We'll have to see what they do at this point. We do see Melanos going back to the bot side of the river to get that control again, playing towards around this bot side still.
Yeah, Olaf getting some more river control. Early dragons also going to be on the table for both of these junglers. In fact, it looks like Melanos might actually be starting the dragon up right now with that bot priority. There's no one that's going to be able to check. We see a question mark being coming down on the dragon, though. It'll be interesting to see what Scott's Tots do to respond to this. Looks like Rek'Sai has spotted out the Olaf with that tremor sense. Now we have a ward coming down. Rek'Sai hitting up that Olaf, getting the knockup. Ari Flash Charm misses, but it's still going to be enough for a kill. Now we've got fighting between the two bot lanes, but Scott's Tots is in this fight so much more than Keola's Areolas. That's 2 kills going down for them. Ari getting another, and Quang is going to pick up the Braum as well. Now Orianna with no flash being chased down by 4 members. The hook lands, the equalizer comes down. Rander is now running in on Rumble 1v4 trying to make it happen, but a God of Love is followed with the teleport, and now the Rumble is going to go down too. That is a full ace across the map for Scott's Tots. They don't get all the kills at the same time, but they do go up 5 kills from 0, and then they secure the Mountain Drake on the end of that play.
Yeah, that was there was some decision making that happened there. Like, they thought they had the advantage with the fact that the Sivir and the Braum still had the priority in bot lane, so they thought they could take that turret or that dragon for free. But the issue was they had no idea where Doc was with the Rek'Sai, and with that tremor sense, he doesn't need to show to know where you're at. And so he was able to detect the Olaf over there, and they were able to get up there and get the jump on them even without the initial vision. And then at that point, the priority in mid lane with foreign guy on the Ahri was able to get down there. He did flash and miss the charm, but it was still enough damage overall to get the kill first, which ended up snowballed the fight out of control.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see how KA, they had their other players getting into this fight. We saw Rander come in with a teleport, but only after the fight was effectively over. The Rumble Equalizer came down after 4 of his teammates had died. So, or 3 of his teammates had died. The Orianna was the last kill to go down. But you just need to have that Equalizer in there a little earlier to save the bot lane rather than after everyone's already dead, right?
Exactly. There's that point where you need to accept that the loss is there. The bot lane should have walked out right away. No teleport should have came out, because actually Rumble has a pretty good CS lead on top of the Urgot in the top lane, able to make use of the Rumble early power to bully out the lane. But then Urgot picked up 2 assists, so that's 300 gold right back to him. Pretty much deletes that difference.
Yeah, and there's this CS lead in the bot lane too, so we see KA winning their lanes. They're winning top lane, they're winning bot lane. They had a lead in the jungle too, with Olaf getting both Scuttle Crabs. But rather than sit on their lead and be happy, they just kind of throw themselves at Scott's Tots, and they end up down 6 kills in a dragon already just due to over-aggression. If they'd been playing a little slower, maybe they'd just be up gold instead with those CS differences.
And most notably, this is a Mountain Drake for a team that has a Rek'Sai and a Kaisa on it. When it comes to mid-game and these objectives start, they get time to free hit on these objectives, the objectives are going to disappear.
We see some trading coming down in the mid lane, a nice charm from Foreign Guy, maybe making up for that missed flash charm on the Olaf earlier, so getting a decent lead there. It's the one lane that Scott's Tots have that hasn't gone down in farm. Some more trading coming out of the top lane with a God of Love level 6. He didn't use the ult in the scrap. The Equalizer's going to come down. Both these guys are scrapping out, but with the Urgot ult coming up soon, Urgot is actually getting very low. It's going to come down to the wire. Urgot uses the ult, but it doesn't actually go, and Rander's going to run down a God of Love.
No!
He dodges the Rumble E, the Harpoon Spirit's going to miss, and a God of Love walks out, just barely surviving. Could have been so close.
They're just... I think he missed both of his E's there on both the Junkyard Spirits, and just Yeah, at that point, you know, if he would have hit at just one of them, that would have been enough to slow him and get the kill at that point. So that does see that the Rumble does still have the lead into the lane, though he's going to be able to bully it out and take care of that. Or God of Love does not have a teleport to get back up there in time, so that says still a favorable trade overall, but he does lose out on what could have been free gold for him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these trades go, with items coming down to when Urgot gets Merc Treads. That's going to make a big difference. Rumble usually likes to rush either Flat Magic Pen or something like a Leandry, so he's really good at burning through high HP targets. Black Cleaver not actually going to make the Urgot that much tankier. You really need to get some MR if you want to be able to scrap with Rumble 1v1, and when you're down 30 CS, it's just so hard. The Urgot ult unfortunately wasn't able to get the activation. Fear Beyond Death just not quite getting below that health threshold needed. We see Scott's Tots bot lane sitting in a bush trying to get a fight. They're going to go in anyway, even though they get spotted out. They're both so much lower. An excellent Braum ult from Dude. And Keola's Areolas is going to win that trade. No kills coming down, but they end up ahead on summoners. Blonde Halfling burning both summoners, and Quang also having to use the heal. Scott's Tots just overcommitting to a fight that didn't work out all that great for them.
Well, the big issue was they went into that bush and they were trying to set up that 2v2 spookiness, but they were actually sitting on a ward as it died. They didn't know that. And
I'm going to interrupt you because we have a gank top lane. We know that the Urgot has no flash, so Melanoss is going to be able to come in top lane and get up a kill really easily. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we see Scott's Tots picking up a kill because Dude left the Sivir to go warm, and now foreign guys down bot lane as well, hitting up Dude. So we see Scott's Tots getting the return kill on the bot side of the map. No jungler necessary, just a Braum leading lane to ward. They're going to keep chasing down the Braum. The charm is going to land. That's going to be a kill. Donated over to Quang. And now we see the Rek'Sai fighting the Orianna in the mid lane. Shockwave whiffs. The Rek'Sai ultimate comes out, gets the kill with the Prey Seeker, the last hit coming in. So actually, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Scott's, or 3-for-1 in favor of Scott's Tots. Quang getting a couple kills there as well, and Doc getting another kill onto Tropical Crayon. So we see Ari leaving lane, Rek'Sai just saying, I'm the mid laner now, and picking up a free kill. And now Herald is going to follow.
Yeah, a lot of things went wrong there. The moment that Olaf showed top side, the bot side knew they were safe to go in for that all-in, just because Dude had walked away from the Sivir, and there was no one there to defend him, and Kaiser just flew right in there, burst him out, and then when Braum makes his way up the river, Tropical Crayon on the Orianna just stood there autoing the turret, got greedy for some plates, didn't even get a plate out of it, by the way, and then once he realized it was too late to help his support, he tried walking up, and that's when he found the Rek'Sai in an area he did not want them, which then caused him to lose to Herald because they lost all that mid priority all of a sudden.
And now we see Infernal Drake is up, so Scott's Tots has been able to reset since those kills. We see Storm Razor complete on Kai'Sa, a lot of big power spikes coming in. Both teams going to be looking to this Infernal Drake. It's an important objective. We see very little tank, a lot of high damage builds coming out. Going to multiply the stats of whatever team gets it a whole lot. Both top laners have teleport, so it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Herald drop mid lane, going to create some pressure. We see Olaf popping in, trying to go in for the kill, but he's 1v2, and he just goes down to Quang. I don't know what that was, but that's going to be Infernal Drake over to Scott's Tots.
Yeah, he thought he had the Sivir backing him up, but the thing was, Sivir was on the other side of the wall, and even though she popped her ult to try and speed him up, but at that point she was either out of range or just not enough. She didn't get any damage in that entire fight, so that gives over there a free Infernal Drake they had just gotten vision control of.
Yeah, and now Quang is 5-0. Look at this Kai'Sa damage going down onto Natha. It's so insane. That's going to have to be Sivir Flash just to get away and survive. And now bot turret's going to be getting pressured too. We saw some plates go down mid thanks to the Rift Herald. Everything's going in Scott's Tots' way so far.
Yep, that we do see they burned a flash there. Was able to spell shield the Prey Seeker coming out of Kai'Sa to keep himself alive, not let that passive pop off. But that is pushed out of lane, so that's going to give them the free turret in the bot lane. Most likely, the turret plates are going to fall here just very shortly and give them that free push. They did pop the Herald in mid lane and got 2 plates for their Ari, which is good just for the gold. Didn't quite get the full value out of that. Not the worst decision though, just to get the additional gold. And actually, to me, Olaf is at this point is getting that, trying to make use of this a little bit, getting a hold of the Rek'Sai on their jungle on the red side or the blue side, blue buff of the blue side. That's what I meant to say. My apologies. But they're trying to get small victories back, but it just seems like every time they set up a play, they're just giving something back, but it just costs them even more.
Yeah, and for sure it's come down for Scott's Tots, so they're now up even more gold than they were. It's nearly it's a 4K gold lead at 14 minutes. That's going to be a huge gold lead at 20 minutes if they can keep snowballing. But we do see KA getting some pressure on the map. We've got plates that have fallen on the bot turret and the top turret. Now that plating is down, it's going to be easy to convert those turrets into actual gold earned. But right now we see that Scott's Tots have sent their bot lane into the top lane. Rumble not going to be able to deal with a 5-0 Kai'Sa, especially when there's a Thresh to support. And now that Rumble getting hooked up by Thresh, Braum coming in, going to absolutely rip the Braum ultimate. But there's an Olaf here too. It looks like Quang is going to be fine, and Blonde Halfling allowed to walk out as well. A God of Love is teleported in to help out. Paidude now the one caught out. Quang getting hit up by the Flame Spitter, gonna survive. Rander has to flash out. Melonloss actually going to be able to pick up the kill on Quang, but going down to the turret. Shockwave coming in on a God of Love. Everyone's here, everyone's fighting. The Urgot's going to go down, but here comes Ari. The charm lifts again, and that's going to be the end of the play. The Sivir ult finally done on the hunt at the very end of that fight, but after everything else is down. And at the end of the day, it is a 2 for 2, or 3 for 3, I believe, with the Braum just now respawning. So some aggression coming out from KA, not working out in their favor. An excellent teleport from God of Love to get into that fight.
For a moment, it looked like one of those bad karate movies where each person takes a turn coming into the fight, and it just kept going back and forth. It did finally come out in Scott Todd's favor, I think, a little bit on that side. But, you know, when even fights gotta happen, it does let Keola's Areolas buy some time to hopefully get something back for him.
Yeah, one of the most important things to point out about that, while we see the Ari going in on Tropical Crayon, I don't think a kill is going to go down there. What is going to be a kill is the Rek'Sai finding the Sivir inside her own jungle. That is insane damage from a 4-0 Rek'Sai, now 5-0 getting that kill, and mid turret's going to fall soon after. But they did get the shutdown on the Quang in that earlier fight, so though it was a 3 for 2, I believe KA came out on top of gold, but now losing their mid turret and their AD carry again, that's not going to be, at the large end of things, going to be in their favor. They're going to be down in gold even more than they were before that fight broke out.
And if we look at the vision control, look at how many blue wards are in the red side jungle of the red side, and they catch Paidude out.
Lands on Paidude. Paidude's got no one there to help him. That's a Braum all by himself. That's just a good kill. Excellent hook by Blonde Halfling to make sure that Paidude goes down. And now top turret's going to be on the map as well. You see the Olaf trying to hold mid, which means he's just not going to be there to hold top instead.
And that they're able to make that play because of all that vision I was just talking about. Like, look at how much it's almost all lit up. They have no worries about making that play because they know exactly what's going on in the top side of the map. They were completely safe, and that just lets them snowball advantage. They get the kill, they get another turret for themselves, and at that point, that's all three down, leaving them up 6-7K at this point.
The death sentence is going to miss on the Tropical Crayon. The flash is going to come out from the Orianna, but we see the killer instinct from Kai'Sa is going to be more than enough to get that kill. That's now a really, really, really fed Kai'Sa.
Extremely fed, that's for sure. And that's again, like, actually, Tropical Crayon walked right on top of a control ward at that point. So just in full vision, didn't even try and clear it out, and just walked right into the enemy team because they saw her coming. And if they don't start clearing out some of the vision, that's just going to be how they repeat and end this game.
Yeah, it's been tough for KA to make any proactive plays. Every time they go for anything, it seems like it's working out in Scott Stott's favor. Now up almost 7K gold at 18 minutes. So they're going to be turning on to this dragon soon enough. It's spawning very soon, though they haven't recalled and reset since getting a few of these picks and turrets. They've just got so much vision control. I don't see KA being able to contest this one.
One thing I really like seeing from Scott's Tots is after one just got cleared, they actually had 5 control wards out at one point. They are making full use of their vision, controlling every single bit of it. They are starting to work and get some vision back though on the side of Keola's Areolas, and they're just working, struggle some of this bad. So they're going to clear multiple control wards. I think they just cleared 3 of them out, so that's going to buy them some time to hopefully make some correct plays. But
Tropical Crayon caught out, Death Sentence land, Charm lands right after. That's another kill going over to foreign guy. Tropical Crayon just spoon feeding gold to Scott's Tots at this point.
Yeah, as they were clearing the vision on the top side, they don't have any vision going on the bot side, and he just overextended a little bit, tried to walk into a completely dark jungle and found an angry Thresh there waiting for him.
And you gotta think, when Dragon gets taken right before then, you have to know, at least a few of them are on this side of the map, right? The Mountain Drake just went down, maybe not all of them recalled. It's common for support to want to go get vision after objective. You can get that to set up a further play. And what do you know? There's a support in the jungle ready to hook you and an Ari to back him up. That's more than enough damage to take down Tropical Crayon.
Yeah, there was definitely no reason me walking into that side of the jungle. She might have been looking support the Orianna, looking for that blue buff, trying to get themselves something for some wave clear, get themselves a little bit of gold back. But unfortunately, that is a blue buff really worth looking into a dark jungle after an objective's been taken, because that list gives them a free objective, more free gold, and buys them time to get their side of the map set back up.
Yeah, when you get a pick, you can reset without having to worry about anything going down. Orianna is such a critical part of KA's team fight. If she's not there, no team fight's going to happen. It's so much harder to generate a pick. Olaf just by himself doesn't have the damage to run at someone. Rumble can pair with Olaf, but the two of them are just very telegraphed. And now we see Scott's Tots looking towards this Baron. It hasn't even
20-minute Baron
yet, and they're all set up ready to take it. They've got the double mountain and the infernal. This thing is going to absolutely melt. They're sitting on top of the Scuttle Crab Shrine, but it just doesn't matter. Charm gonna land onto Tropical Crayon, and Tropical Crayon dead again. Baron also secured by Scott's Tots. Just that one pick enough to do it. They melted that Baron in about 14 seconds. So.
I was about to say that as well. That was a 14-second Baron. That is obnoxiously fast. And it's only going to get worse as the game goes along, but that Mountain Drake, as we talked about earlier on, with the Fed Rek'Sai, Kaisa alone with her passive, that's just a huge shred. It's so free for him.
Yeah, well played by Scott's Tots. They knew we have Double Mountain, we have Infernal, we have a Kaisa. We're fed. We can get this Baron down like that. Just snap and it's gone. They're able to get a pick too, so now their Baron Siege is better. They don't even have to reset because they take basically no damage doing the Baron. And now they're going to be looking to get turrets. Death Sentence is going to land on Naltha, having to flash away from that. Both summoners used on that Sivir, and the Baron Siege is just going to continue. Every Death Sentence is going to result in summoner spells, if not a kill.
And they do have the Sivir for the wave clear. It could potentially buy them time on top of the Orianna's wave clear as well. But if she eats a hook every time she steps up, there's nothing she can do. Now she's scared and hiding in the back without her flash and heal. She can't provide that wave clear very effectively anymore. So they're probably going to chip this turret down. If not, it might be slow, but I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, something interesting, just something I always like to do when I've got Baron, is we see that there's still inner turrets on the side of KA right for the taking. Scott's Tots intelligently saying, hey, rather than just kind of smash our faces into this mid turret, why don't we go take this blue up, maybe we can look
no!
Gonna get singled out, and Quang gonna get the kill. Now Paidu's all alone, he's lost his Orianna, and that's just a solo kill for Quang. Quang actually gonna go onto the Sivir as well, foreign guy there for the backup. Everyone's going down on the side of KA. Scott's Tots has just the series of 1v1s, and here's the jungler 1v1. Doc on the Rek'Sai, proving that jungler superiority. This gold lead coming out huge. Quang so fed, Doc so fed. It's enough to get all of these kills. They're cleaning up the floor, wiping the floor with KA. With that Baron, they may be looking to end the game either now or very soon. We've got Baron minions crashing into the Nexus turrets. One already going down, the second soon to follow. The Sivir is going to be up in just a few moments, but is it enough? I don't know. Equalizer going down the wave. Shockwave hitting just one. Death Sentence landing onto Paidu on Braum. Fear Beyond Death going down onto Paidu. He's going to get eaten up by the Urgot, and the Rumble with the Flamespreader is going to get feared away. So much fighting going down. Quang has been picked off in this fight. Foreign guy looks to be next. Maybe a little too over-aggressive from the side of Scott's Tots, because they are not going to be able to end the game. In fact, they are going to get near ace. I think Blonde Halfling can't escape out of this one. Death Sentence misses, not that it would have mattered. And that is an ace for the side of Keola's Areolas. The gold going mostly onto the Olaf and the Orianna. Maybe not ideal for how you want to turtle out this game. You'd have loved to see those kills going down onto the Sivir. But they hold the Nexus for now. They're still in this game. It's going to be hard for them to pull it back, but they've shown that they can win a fight on the right terms.
And the big thing is, normally at this point, when you see with this happen in the game, it's not happening at 20 minutes, so they would normally have time. They have time to get down here and try and get control of the dragon, but all of Scott's Tots are going to be spawning here in just a moment, so the dragon's going to come here, but they're going to come over here and try and contest them. Hopefully they'll be able to get something for themselves here in just a little bit, but Scott's Tots doesn't want to give it up for free, but I don't think they're going to get there quite in time.
Yeah, Melon Loss on Olaf does do a lot of damage. Though Quang is there, it's just a little too fast. The Kaisa has been able to 1v2, but not 1v3, especially with that Olaf there. It's just tough. So I don't think that there was ever a hope that they were going to be able to get that dragon. Even with the short death timers, something going the way of KA. They've got an edge. They've got something that they can be happy about. They're still definitely in hard turtle mode. They don't want to lose another inhibitor. Their Nexus is completely exposed. There's a lot of ways this game can go wrong for them. But for now, they're holding on to life.
And part of that was Scott's Tots getting greedy. They overstayed a little bit. They probably should have just took the inhibitor and backed out, or at least maybe just took one of the Nexus turrets and backed out. But we did see on Keola's Areolas that they have missed everything.
We see a fight breaking out in the jungle. Blonde Halfling and Paidude staring at each other for a while, but it is the Braum that comes out on top because he has an Olaf to back him up, but the Braum goes down too. Both supports down. Olaf GA pop. Quang goes down. That rumble damage is massive. Foreign guy going to land charm onto Melonloss, and it gotta love with the Fear Beyond Death, gonna get that kill too. Now Tropical Crayon is the next target. That's going to be a 3 for 2 with an open Nexus. That potentially could be enough to end the game, but it looks like Scott's Tots is going to be happy to push up the waves in the top lane.
And that was looking so good for KA for just a brief moment, but then all of a sudden the Kaisa showed up, and the Rek'Sai showed up, and God of Love showed up with the Urgot, and just completely turned that fight. Well, it was kind of funny there. He teleported in the fight, sniped the Olaf, and pulled it back into the back line of KA, and completely just took over the rest of that fight. There was nothing left for them to do, and so they almost had a small advantage, but every time they try and go for something, Scott's Tots has a perfect response to it.
Yeah, now Quang did go down in that fight. We saw Rander on the Rumble actually practically one-shotting that carry. So that's something that they've got, is they know we have the damage to kill this Kaisa. Quang is going to need to position a little better. Now we see Olaf running down a God of Love and Foreign Guy. This is a 3v2, and with the Rumble and the Braum there, it's going to be hard to escape. We see the Electro Harpoons hitting up Foreign Guy too. So some more over-aggression from Scott's Tots, a little more overstaying. They get outnumbered and killed. So now KA is actually really getting back into this game. They've gone from being down 11 or 12k gold with Baron on the other team to only down about 8k gold. It's still a massive lead, but their inhibitor is going to be respawning soon enough. They're able to get some picks and keep stalling out this game until Paidude gets hit up with some more damage.
Yeah, Scott's Tots just needs to play around the Kaisa at this point. Like, she is so far ahead that in a team fight, there's no way she loses if they have a fair fight.
Death Sentence lands onto Tropical Crayon, no follow-up though.
Oh, but they're actually looking to do the Baron.
Yeah, this is a desperation Baron call. You say we're losing, we don't have an inhibitor, we need to do this as quickly as possible. This is do or die for KA. We see that Scott's Tots have seen it. The Braum ult's going to connect onto Quang. The Shockwave's going to connect onto Quang. That is another dead Kaisa. He's died 3 times in a row. And now KA is going to turn around and say they don't have an AD carry. Let's look back to the Baron.
Wait, they're actually pinging on mid lane to try and push it down there. Urgot just blew his ult on the air, actually. I'm not sure what he was going for, because I thought he was going to come to interrupt it, but they're not going to be able to quite end this in time. They're going to be able to finish the Baron and get back in with their Baron-powered recalls and hopefully defend their Nexus. But only one of them got back!
Just trying to stop the backs. Only one is back. It's just the Rumble. Melonloss is back is interrupted, so now we see Doc on Rek'Sai and Urgot, the God of Love, going in, but the inhibitor respawns at a perfect time for KA. The Baron empowered recalls are going to come in time. They lose their inhibitor, but they get the Baron in a couple kills. They kill the Thresh, they lose the Olaf due to Foreign Guy on that Ahri making sure to get the pick. Some scattered recalls coming out from KA, but still it works out in their advantage. Taking a Baron denies Scott's Tots that game-ending ability, and we're going to keep stalling it out. The gold lead just keeps shrinking.
Yeah, in the last 4 or 5 minutes, everything has gone in the favor of KA. They've actually, the only objectives that Scots have gotten within the last 5 minutes or so is that inhibitor. They got it refreshed down here, so they were able to get something out of it to hopefully stall this Baron push and just kind of leave it at even. But what we're seeing is that Scott's Tots not playing around their comp or their power at all. They're just kind of running in 2 or 3 at a time. Someone gets picked off, they die, and they're giving up a power play every single time.
And there is so much static gold on the map for KA to take if they can win another fight here. Every single turret is still standing. If they can knock down 3 or 4 of those in a row, that gold lead is going to go from small to non-existent. And KA, down 14 kills and a couple dragons, might actually be in the lead of the game with no Nexus turrets left standing.
And this next dragon is actually another Mountain Drake, so we are going to have a full house of Drakes with the 3 Mountains and 2 Infernals in the game. And, you know, if KA is able to get this Mountain Drake, that's going to give them some advantage to take down all these turrets. Like I said, these are all still standing, so Mountain Drake is super effective for taking down those Mountain Drakes. There's not very much left for take for Scott's Tots. They're not getting as much use out of these mountains since they keep giving away their objectives. Yeah,
so this is going to be the Baron fight. We see Doc landing some damage onto Paidude. The Braum's chunked to half health, but no one's there to follow up that engage. You don't want to blow too many cooldowns just trying to kill the Braum. We see death sentences throwing out. We see KA looking towards the dragon, looking towards the mid lane. They have the Baron empowered minions. They need to make sure that the wave stays pushed out in the mid lane with that open next. They have something to worry about. But on the Hunt's going to get dropped. Equalizer's going to get dropped. Shockwave's going to whip, but that's still a kill on the Urgot going down to KA. And now the Rek'Sai is found in the middle of enemy territory. GA is popped. That's a dead Rek'Sai as well. They're winning the fight. Tropical Crayon and Quang going to walk away from each other, but the Void Seeker going to get that last hit onto Tropical Crayon. It's a 2 for 2, but Scott's Tots loses their jungler. Olaf with the smite still up should be able to secure this dragon, and KA with slightly larger health bars going to be able to walk away and take maybe another objective. An excellent equalizer out of Rander. He's really carrying these fights.
Yeah, the new buff, because he has that ultimate for every fight with the new cooldown, so he's not having any issue with that. They've actually brought the gold lead down to 5k at this point, so we were talking about that just a little bit ago. You had mentioned that we were down 12k at one point. All of a sudden it's within 5k now, and we're starting to get to that point of the game where gold lead starts mattering less and less while people have their core items, and it's starting to get to that late game point. If this continues, Scott's Tots is going to be full build, and they're going to start stagnating with their power if they're not able to end this out.
Yeah, and Rander, you can see in his inventory right now, that's 2 needlessly large rods. When that gets upgraded to a Rabadon, that Rumble is going to go from huge to huger. These equalizers are going to absolutely be melting Scott's Tots. So KA, looking like they might have a leg back into this game, looking for the comeback now. Their inhibs once again going to be respawning relatively soon, though they've lost the Baron. They're just standing around. We're looking for the next objective to fight over because Scott's Tots has completely lost all pressure on the map. They're pushing nowhere. They're not really sure what to do. At this point, your mentality's got to be all over the place. You're thinking, please don't throw this game. Please don't throw this game. And all of a sudden, that 12k gold lead is down to only 5k.
Yeah, and Olaf does have his Guardian Angel back online as well, so they're starting to get on these core items. That's going to let them actually get some super strong fights. We see the Sivir is just about to finish her other Zeal item. Most likely going to be a Phantom Dancer, I would guess, or at least I would like to see it be a Phantom Dancer just to make sure she can stay alive as much as possible in these fights. But, you know, as Sivir starts getting that 70% crit range, her ricochets are going to tear these team fights apart. So they've actually bridged that point of the game where Sivir was weaker than the Kaisa and getting to the point where her team fight potential is coming online. On top of the end, we do see that Rander was able to finish the death cap, so this next team fight could be huge for KA.
To quote the cast from yesterday in Cloud9 versus TSM, legends have been written about 4 and 5 items Sivir. And the more this Sivir gets to wave clear, the closer we're going to get to that fountain laser damage that Sivir's capable of. That's something that you got to be scared of if you're Scott's Tots, and something you have to be looking forward to if you're KA. I think with the outscaling potential of that Rumble in team fights, with the Orianna ultimate, with the Sivir being able to run at them and the Olaf, if you're KA, you're thinking, hey, maybe we outscale a little bit here. It doesn't look like Scott's Tots has the same team fight coordination that we do. The longer we wait, the more our champions are going to get to shine. Maybe we can just chill, and the inhib is back up, so there is nothing left that Scott's Tots have from their early game lead.
Yeah, meanwhile, they actually have Foreign Guy on the top lane trying to split push on the Ahri, but actually they're looking to engage this team fight in the middle. Olaf is sitting on the flank looking for something. They do have the Sivir speed up. Not quite going to pull the trigger quite yet. They're actually going to lose our top tower for that play.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're not really answering the split push, so their top turret goes down. Foreign Guy not sure if going for the inhib is the move. You need to pull the trigger sooner. The equalizer comes down. It hits nobody but a God of Love who flashes over it. They're forcing this fight. Meanwhile, Foreign Guy's in the base just taking an inhibitor. The Nexus is open. A God of Love goes down, but KA needs to back out soon or they're going to lose the game. Hidude's going to dash away, but Doc is there with the chase. There's no recalls coming in. Foreign Guy's hitting the Nexus, and no one on KA is there to stop. 2 people are running back. The team fight's still going on mid. The Nexus is at half health. The Sivers finally arrive with Tropical Crayon. We see the Ahri ult. It's like Xpeke is here going for the back door.
Oh, no!
At the right place, and Foreign Guy is going to go down. Blonde Halfling soon going to follow. KA loses an inhibitor, almost loses a Nexus, but wins the team fight and gets an ace. Hardly clean from them, but just enough to stay alive in this game.
KA was so lucky that that was an Ahri up there. While if the magic dealers do so much damage to a split push, it's not enough to. It's not the same as having an AD Bruiser up there who could have just both cleaned up that Nexus at that point. Didn't quite get it, but that does mean they have stalled out the game. They did only lose 1 inhib for that, and they are getting the Baron out of this.
Yeah, but with that open Nexus and the Nexus so low, the backdoor threat is just always going to be there. Unfortunately, Foreign Guy wasn't able to get a ward down with that sweeper. Otherwise, a God of Love might have been able to have a TV play. But when you've got the Baron empowered recalls, it's so easy to get back into your base to defend the Nexus from any backdoor threat. KA still hasn't taken a turret this game, but they're down only 1.5k now.
I can't wait to see the gold graph after this game. It's going to be such a roller coaster just by definition at that point. But yeah, they did lose that inhibitor, so that is actually a pretty big deal, especially in the top lane when they're wanting to be playing around these drakes in the bot side. That is free top lane pressure for Scott Tots at this point. But Rumble's up there. He's wave clear. It's actually super nutty at this point of the game, and he still has to teleport. So as long as we see the teleport gets used correctly, it could make a difference, but I guess it looks like they're going to just let the Drake go. But that is a second Infernal Drake going over to Scott's Tots, which is something they really enjoy.
Yeah, that dragon spawned 20 seconds before an Elder Dragon would have spawned. That's now 3 Mountain Drakes and 3 Infernal Drakes in this game. Scott's Tots will have those dragon advantages if this game goes on. They're going to be able to melt objectives, but is there going to be objectives to melt is the question. Hey just keeps managing to win fights before the Baron, right in front of the Baron, and they've secured it the last 2 out of 3 times. Since Scott's Tots got it that first time and nearly ended the game, they haven't been able to secure an objective other than that dragon. So how much does it matter? Infernal Drake, great for fighting, but if KA gets their abilities in the right spots, they get the Equalizer and the Shockwave right on top of the Scott's Tots backline. They've been able to win these fights, and it's not been close.
And Rander did a really good job there. They realized we're not going to fight for this Drake at all, so he pushed that lane all the way out, actually did take the top turret. They finally got their first turret of this game at 35 minutes, but while there's still supers up there, the supers aren't going to be providing that pressure for a long time, so that's going to buy the, and there's no other objectives. Now that Drake is gone, the Baron's not going to be respawning for another few minutes. They just have time to sit here and chill. They can just let the Sivir clear more waves, get more gold, and just fight on their own terms. They don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, they can wait for their inhibitor to respawn and say, we've been able to win these team fights around objectives when they do come up, so why don't we just wait for another one?
Yeah, and by the time the next Baron comes back up, that inhib will have respawn. So if KA plays everything correctly, that's going to work out perfectly fine for them. Like, they did lose a little bit of that gold. They had just came back, but again, we're at the point, gold almost, at this level of gold difference means nothing at this point. Everybody has the items that they want. It's just kind of small things at this point that don't actually make that much of a difference. It's more about how you play these fights at this point. Like, look at that. The Sivir just destroyed that wave with one W pop on her side. So it's going to start to look really scary for Scott's Tots if they can't find a good hook or a good engage somewhere.
Yeah, everyone's either full build or a half item away from it. It's getting really close to being just not about gold at all, but all about who can crack each other's base. We see Scott's Tots posturing, threatening to take this inhibitor, but they've so far been afraid to walk into the base itself.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see both teams are kind of standing around. Oh, actually, we do see Pop the Ghost.
And on the hunt's following, we have the Olaf Axes going down on the Blonde Halfling. There is Flash Burn by that Thresh. The Equalizer comes down too. Blonde Halfling is dead. Shockwave is going to whip, but with a pick already happened, and the Axe is starting to land on God of Love and Quang. KA has the numbers here. The Ahri and the Rek'Sai are nowhere near the fight.
Oh,
Quang goes down. A God of Love. They're going for the back door, but the Baron just times out. There's no Baron-empowered recalls. There's a Rek'Sai in the base, and Ahri soon to follow. The recalls might not be there in time. It's all up to Doc and Foreign Guy on the Rek'Sai and the Ahri. Teleport coming in from Rander, but that Nexus is getting hit up. Topical Crayon is now here. Rek'Sai has a GA. Foreign Guy is hitting the Nexus.
He's going down!
The GA is up. The Nexus is still alive. Can they get it? The last auto? He gets it. Scott's Tots wins the game by the hair on their chinny chin. Just
oh my goodness!
barely able to win that game. If that Rek'Sai doesn't get that last auto off, they are going to lose to the Sivir push. But instead, Doc with the GA just had enough damage, and Scott's Tots walk away with a very, very messy Game 1 win.
Oh, that has to be heartbreaking, though, if you're KA. Like, you had stalled out for so long. You got destroyed in the early game. You settled down. You got all these advantages back in. You stalled out. You got to that power point. And you lose to that back door by literally, like, 2 autos. Like, if he didn't have that GA alone, first off, it would have been, they would have been able to stall it out. Secondly, when he just came up, they took him right back down to, like, 200 HP, one more auto, one more spell would have been enough to kill him, but he got that last auto off to take the Nexus down.
Yeah, and the Baron wore out just seconds before they started channeling their recalls. It was the moment that Tropical Crayon got the kill onto a God of Love that the fight was over and the Baron recall had worn out while that last auto was in the air. If they'd been able to just get those Baron empowered recalls, those 4 seconds would have been more than enough. But instead, Scott's Tots just ekes it out. It's hard to stress just how close that was. It'll be interesting to see how the teams adapt going into Game 2. We're going to take a quick break while we wait for the teams to get back into Champion Select. We will see you all in just a few moments. Welcome back, everyone, to week 4 of Dominate Premade in this match between Keola's Areolas and Scott's Tots, two of the greatest names in the league. They had a very, very back-and-forth game 1. Scott's Tots broke out to an early lead, nearly closed out the game before 25 minutes, and then KA just started coming back. They won fights, they took Barons, they took Dragons, they started getting turrets, and then at the very end of the game, after they'd won a team fight, they succumbed to a backdoor that was by the slimmest margin we've ever seen. Just one auto was all it took, and the Rek'Sai from Scott's Tots was able to secure it, get the win, with a Sivir inside their own base, ready to win the game the other way if that last auto didn't come through. So we're getting into Game 2 now, and the draft for Game 2. Bans coming out quickly. Teams gonna look to be adjusting after that game. The first big adjustment to bans we see is that Rumble coming from Scott's Tots. Rander in Game 1 on that Rumble was an absolute monster, had the most damage in the game by a wide margin. Absolutely carved up team fights and did so much damage to Scott's Tots every time he got the opportunity. So taking that off the board and saying, nah, no more Rumble for you, an excellent adjustment from Scott's Tots. I think that'll make sure that they don't have quite as much to worry about in team fights because they were getting barbecued on top of those equalizers.
Yeah, and on the side of Keola's Areolas, we do see mostly the same bans. They have changed what was previously the Lulu ban over to the Jarvan ban. I guess they decided that that's something, since they didn't play that in the previous game on Scott's side, I'm going to guess that they're wanting to play something, and they don't want Jarvan to be going against them with that comp. So that is going to be a small change up on their side. So, but they are going to be locking in the Rek'Sai on the side of KA. So that is another power pick we talked about in the first drift. Doesn't really have very many losing matchups. Not quite as strong in 9.6 as it was at 9.5, or actually in 9.7 as it was in 9.6. But it's still a super strong pick.
Yeah, and we saw it be prioritized last game. It ended up doing a great job last game. The Rek'Sai got ahead of the Olaf jungle counter matchup. Looks like Gragas is going to be the answer to it for Scott's Tots, whereas Melonloss was on the Olaf to answer the Rek'Sai. Both are really viable options into the Rek'Sai. They could hold their own. Gragas not incredible at 1v1ing a Rek'Sai in a sustained fight, but just a quick little trade and then dash away is enough for Gragas to come out on top of that trade. And now we see a Vayne getting locked in for Quang. It was banned last game because they held it to the second rotation and they weren't able to get Quang on a true hyper carry. So Vayne going to be doing a slightly better job, going to be able to scale in the late game a little harder. And now Melonloss going to pick up the Kai'Sa for Nautha, so that's going to be a strong bot lane. We see Kai'Sa picked up in both games, and it looks like that's going to be a Kennen for Rander in the top lane. Kind of a quick pivot from what the Rumble was last game. Still a big team fight mage coming out of the top lane. We'll see if Rander's able to carry on that as hard as he was able to carry on the Rumble in Game 1.
Yeah, in the first game, it definitely did seem that Rander was their primary engage tool on top of the Rumble. So Kennen is very similar, can get a good TP in, can get into the middle of the team, pop his R, start the fights on his terms. So they're probably looking to do that. Going to be a little rough to do that into the Gragas. Gragas can just yeet him out of the fights with the ult on his side, so that could be really hard to do. But if he is able to get in the middle of the team fight with that, that is going to be super strong. On the side of Scott's Tots, we do see him locking in the Rise. That is something that somehow, no matter how he gets nerfed, how he gets changed, he just always finds his way back into teams' comps, because his laning power and his kind of ease of execution is always there.
Yeah, and something else Kennen has to look out for is the Vayne as well. Gragas has that explosive cask that can knock a Kennen out of a fight, but it can get misused. If Kennen uses a well-timed proto belt, he can use that explosive cask as a gap closer to get even further into the fight. You flash over it and say, thanks for the extra distance. You're going to take some damage, but you can really find yourself cannonballing into the other team if you react to it just in time. Vayne, on the other hand, with the Condemned, can say, not Kennen, not today. So it's going to be interesting for Rander to try and navigate around those cooldowns. The Rune Prison from Rise as well, a great way to stop Kennen from walking at your team. You just slap him with that W and say, no. So a lot of obstacles for that Kennen to get past in order to get into these fights, get those good engages. We see bans coming out from both teams. Thresh and Alistar for KA. They're trying to ban away supports that can make Vayne survive lane and be lane dominant, but instead, Scott's Tots is going to pick up the Pyke. So Vayne Pyke, an interesting lane. What do you think about that, Goldline?
I'm not a fan of it. Vayne and Pyke are just two champions that play the lane completely differently. Pyke wants to take full control of the lane, either get the kills, roam, get more kills in the enemy jungle in the mid lane. He just wants full pressure in the lane to make full use of his kit. Vayne, while she does have some really strong all-ins, doesn't really want to do that early on. She wants to get farmed up a little bit, get her Bilgewater Cutlass, get a little sustain, some attack speed going on, and then take those fights with a support that can peel for her and let her actually make use of her kit. So definitely a little bit odd, especially with how well... I mean, we did see Quang play very, very well on the Kai'Sa in the previous game, so maybe they're looking to do something with this combination. But as far as the champions go together, I don't think they pair up very well.
And we see a Braum being locked in to answer that Vayne Pike lane. So Braum, Kai'Sa, decent combo. Kai'Sa with the attack speed given by her E can proc that Braum passive very quickly. Braum going to be trying his best to defend from the Pike engage as well. Decent kite back away from that Pike, with the free resistances that his Stand Beside Me gives, and the Unbreakable Will to stop those Vayne autos from hitting the Kai'Sa. It's going to be hard to target her down and make her die, and then Zilean a second pickup just to make sure, extra sure, that anyone who gets picked out, hit by a hook, or hit by a Vayne Condemn into a wall isn't going to immediately fall down to the wayside. And then to round out the draft, we see the Swain being picked in and sent mid lane to answer that Zilean. Ryze, a decent flex pick, so they're opting to send Ryze into Kennen and Swain into Zilean. So Foreign Guy and Tropical Crayon went relatively even in lane last game. Rander was able to win lane really hard. The Kennen Ryze matchup's an interesting one. Kennen can get on top of Ryze and kill him pretty easily, especially with some ganks. I like the Kennen Rek'Sai 2v2 if the Gragas is there to counter gank as well. So that's something that KA is going to likely be looking for. And then the bot lanes as well are relatively interesting. Kai'Sa and Braum gonna have slightly more early presence over that Vayne, so we'll see what KA's plan is with all of these picks. What do you think about these team comps? How is each team going to be looking to win this game?
Despite not being too big of a fan as far as Pike and Vayne go together, overall I do actually kind of favor Scott's draft on their side. That's a lot of skirmishing power between all their CC, the Swain, Gragas, kind of pseudo frontliners who can also put out a lot of damage. That is going to give them a lot of brawling potential, and that's kind of where they were losing those fights in the mid game of the previous in round one. They were kind of losing those mid game skirmishes, and that's what was causing KA to have an opportunity to get back into the game. They're looking to, looks like, patch up those holes. They're putting Foreign Guy on the Swain. That's something we do see come back up. It's very strong into the short lane or the short range laners like Zilean, who's got to play a little farther back so he doesn't get pulled in by the Never move. But that being said, KA does have a pretty strong, safe comp between the Kai'Sa being protected by both the Zilean and the Braum, but at the same time having some really strong engage if Kennen is able to get into the backline with some good follow-up of the Zilean and Rek'Sai. So kind of something I guess I might say a little too often, but it does come down to execution. Once again, that's a very common thing, is who can play to their win conditions better. I would like to see Gragas just leave his bot lane to do their own thing. Pike, Vayne should do an okay job staying alive at the very bare minimum. Take care of that 2v2. He's going to want to get the Ryze and the Swain ahead of their counterparts to give them full control of that upper side of the map.
Yeah, well, in any case, we have landed onto the Rift. We're waiting for the champions to start dropping onto the fountain. Should be happening any moment now. We see some interesting rune choices coming out, a couple minion dematerializers from both the Kennen, the Zilean, and the Ryze, who top lane both champs are going to have those. Some pretty standard rune choices as well. Klepto on Kennen, that's not the most standard. You'd rather prefer that into a melee matchup, but it can be used against Ryze. Kennen auto attack range does beat Ryze W in auto range by the smallest amount, so Rander can be getting some stacks off that, out golding a God of Love as much as possible. Fleet Footwork on Kai'Sa going to be looking towards that Stormrazor build. We saw it last game from Quang, so nothing different there. Guardian on Braum, Aftershock on Pike, nothing too exciting. The interesting thing is that both mid laners have opted into Teleport instead of Ignite. I think with the Zilean pick, they both realize kills not going to happen too often. May as well take Teleport to have superior lane pressure, so that Teleport is going to match. We might see a little more split pushing because of that. When more champs have teleports, there's the ability to be in side lanes and away from the objectives a little more often.
And Swain's also one of those champions who he's not usually looking for 1v1 kills, but I thought Kai'Sa was going to walk into a bad situation, but they do get that ward cleared out. But as I was getting ready to say there, Swain doesn't really have a strong secondary rune that he wants to take on top of the Flash. Like, he could look for kills with the Ignite, doesn't really need a cleanse against a Zilean. As you said, they're not going to be looking for 1v1 kills, doesn't need to protect himself that much, and if anything else, he does have an ult for safety. So teleports pretty much as a good default. I'm not going to be doing anything else in lane. I might as well give myself that ability to get around the map faster.
Yeah, and we see pretty standard jungle starts. We see a leash coming up top lane. A God of Love is helping out Doc with that red buff. So something a little different than last game. Not both junglers starting on the bot side, both starting red so that they can get these ganks down. We see Gragas pathing up to the Krugs, same path that Doc did last game, except on Rek'Sai. It's relatively standard. It's good to get to the bot lane at level 3 for those ganks. So perhaps that's going to be looking at what Doc is going to be doing. Melonloss, on the other hand, doing that same Rek'Sai pathing as well, looking for that cheese gank bot or for the crab. But this time, instead of finding an Olaf, it's just going to be Melonloss's crab to take.
Yeah, we do see them opting to go for the split jungling this time. I'm curious to see if they go for the vertical jungling or if they try and just go back for the scuttles and resume their regular pathing. But we see that priority, like you mentioned, the Kai'Sa and the Braum have the first early advantage in their lane, so they're actually going to go up and help Melonloss go up into the jungle and get this advantage for him.
And we see a big trade coming out mid lane, Guy landing every single ability in Swain's book, the Never Move Huge, to secure that W and Q damage as well. It looks like vertical jungling's happening. Melonloss realized that there was no Gragas on the bot side of the map. It's going to be whether or not Dot goes into that blue buff, otherwise there's going to be a 3-3 buff start on the side of Scott's Tots. They haven't actually realized that they don't have a Rek'Sai inside their own jungle, but it looks like Gragas is going for that invade, so just some vertical jungling to start the game.
And it certainly does help that foreign guy was able to get some really strong trades here early on, actually getting another really big trade there, so he's giving full priority in this mid lane that does allow Doc to safely invade that blue, because in case worse came to worse, he would have foreign guy backing up a lot better than Tropical Crayon could at the moment.
Yeah, and something to note with no Ignite is that Zillion doesn't have to worry too much about going down to kills, and while Swain's using all these spells for damage, the spells aren't being used on the minion waves. That wave's going to crash into the turret. It looks like it's not going to matter that much. We see a CS lead coming out in the mid lane. Some more damage going down on a Tropical Crayon. Foreign guy maybe kicking himself for not taking Ignite, but that's first blood anyway. The flash auto is all it takes. Tropical Crayon going down on the Zillion. You hate to see that when you pick a safe lane like Zillion. It's going to be a small early game lead for Scott's Tots, much like we saw in last game.
I feel a little bad there also. Tropical got stuck on a minion and wiggled back and forth 2 or 3 steps before resuming going backwards at that point, so it did allow that little bit of extra damage to come through, unfortunately, but you know, that's one of the things you do have to play around, make sure you're not too far up in the lane. You did take a lot of unnecessary damage, so it might have gone towards foreign guy no matter how that played out.
Yeah, it's minion block, it's the reality of League of Legends. It's what you got to deal with. Sometimes it's going to happen. Fortunately there, it does result in a kill. Might have just resulted in a flash having to burn in the back. We know that Swain doesn't have flash, so KA can look to punish that mid lane. The Rek'Sai has strong gank, so Swain without flash is a pretty juicy gank target. So it'll be up to Melonloss to make that kill back up.
And actually, already off to a pretty good start on the side. We do see a Swain sitting on the Catalyst already, so he's already halfway to his Rod of Ages at less than 5 minutes into this. Definitely want to get that as soon as possible. We already see that God of Love has his tier, and that's going to be stacking up for him very shortly. So, as far as the first 5 minutes of the game has gone for, I think Scott's Tots should be pretty happy.
Yeah, and after getting a little outscaled last game, maybe they've decided that they want to pick champions who will scale a little harder. Some scrapping in the jungling coming out. Melonloss is going to find Doc, get some damage down. Doc gonna have to body slam the Rek'Sai away. Just gonna lose half his health bar. Pretty advantageous trade for Melonloss, but now Melonloss is gonna go in, get stunned by Pyke, hooked by Pyke, ignited by Pyke, and with Wang there, it's all the Rek'Sai going down, but the Unbreakable Will is enough, and then instead it's Mon Halfling going down. Now Doc goes back in, Melonloss gets the knockup, and just barely survives. That's going to be a 2-for-1 advantage for Keola's Areolas. Now,
poor guy, what are you doing?
Caught out a little bit. No flash. Is there going to be the follow-up? The Brawn Q does land. The stun's about to come down. That is a dead Swain. The kill is given to Kai'Sa. Zillion had the bomb, but Nalka said, I'm Kai'Sa. I want that kill instead. And now that's going to be a dragon for KA. They were so far behind in early game last game, now they've got a lead instead. They're going to secure this first early Drake, and it is an Infernal Drake, so that's going to matter.
I think I'm just going to have to stop saying that, you know, teams are going to be happy with their current position, because when I say it, the teams just, they're not happy. They just go all in at this point and start trading some kills, but we do see them going back in.
Very awkward. There's no flashes on the side of KA. They are stuck in that pit. Naltha does not have flash to get out. Paidu did, but chose not to flash out. Melonloss just going to walk away, say, see ya, and walk away from that fight. So it's 2 kills going back over to Scott's Tots. They at least get something for the dragon. It's now 3 for 3. Scott's Tots does have the first blood gold, but they've lost enough farm that they are down 500 gold at 7 minutes.
And that is both kills going back onto the vein, so that is going to help her bridge that early game gap to get her towards her early build, because she does spike at 2 items now. She only needs to play the Ruin King and the Ginsu's Rage Bait, and she is set to go. So she should be able to come online sooner than Kaisa, even though Kaisa probably has better overall scaling, especially with that Infernal Drake helping him. So that is kind of a small thing there where we were just talking about while KA or Scott's Tots got a little greedy and they got punished for it. With how early in the game it was, they were to spawn up and come back in time and punish KA for going for that additional play.
Yeah, I think you take it if you're KA. You say, oh, we got a dragon and we traded, what, 2 for 2 or 3 for 3? That's not too bad. They got 3 kills, then they gave up 2 kills, so it's not the end of the world. Infernal Drake is great for scaling. The Kennon's going to love it. The Zillion loves it. The Kaisa loves it. It's good for them. You don't want to see those kills on Vayne especially, but there are worse ways for that trade to go. We see a bit of a lull in the action now that Dragon's down, just standard laning. No solo kills coming down just yet. Looks like... Yep. Well, big trade coming down in the mid lane.
Yeah, he's not doing a good job dodging those never moves, but you know, one thing we always want to see after a big play like that just happens, there are almost no summoners left for anybody right now. So this is in the lull, there's no objectives right now yet. You want to see the junglers take advantage of this. You might want to see Doc come to the bot lane, help Vayne get even further ahead, try and put the shutdown of this, get the Vayne ahead of time. Rek'Sai might want to be playing around this bot side as well to make sure that doesn't happen, or look around to get to the mid lane. This Swain still has no flash for a little bit. He does still have the ult, so that could make a big difference, but on top of the Zillion speeding him in, they could look to get a kill there also.
Yeah, but right now we see Rek'Sai just doing a clear and then a recall. Doc, however, is looking towards bot lane right now with Predator boots in the inventory. Ganks are going to be pretty easy to pull off with no wards in the river either on the side of KA. That Gragas gank is going to be effective, but it doesn't look like it's going to be coming off. Instead, just a little more laning. Cannon asserting some dominance over this Ryze in the top lane. The Gunblade or Protobelt going to be the rush. I said Gunblade, it's definitely going to be Protobelt. I'm wrong.
Most likely, but I mean, that used to be the standard build long ago, so we'll give you a break on that one, Cole. Don't worry about it. But yeah, we did see Gragas stand around the bot lane looking for that, but didn't actually pull the trigger or do anything with it. Is able to clear out the control ward that was there, but during that time, that allowed Melanus to clear all of his topside jungle, and now is sitting up for a gank at the top lane where Ryze has no mana.
Yeah, and with Kennen having ult, this is going to be a well-executed dive. The knockup comes in just in time with the Kennen stun. That's going to be a kill for Rander, and now they're going to be able to get a ton of plates. Good dive, good call on the side of KA. That kill is denies away a farm, but it looks like Doc is looking for the dive bot lane. It's a little harder to dive 3v2 than 2v1. It looks like nothing's going to be hitting up. A little tough. The Condemn doesn't actually get the stun up. A bunch of ults burned, but KA is going to survive. Well played by their bot lane to ward off that dive. Instead, just more plates going down top lane. We see a God of Love teleporting back in to try and hold
Wait, he's gonna die a second time in a row!
Melanlos is going to take the turret. Melanlos uses that Rek'Sai ultimate. Rander dodges the Q from Ryze, and that's a second kill. A God of Love gets dove, killed, teleports back to lane, and gets dove a second time. That's a greedy teleport, and KA just had the damage to make it happen. So now that Ryze goes from behind to turbo behind. Rander's is going to be a monster.
Yeah, there was no reason to teleport in that situation. It felt really bad that he lost all that gold in the given situation, but he teleported back in as KA knew that Doc was not in the area. He had just shown boss side for that attempt to dive that didn't work out. So they knew they were perfectly safe to go for that 2v2. Rek'Sai still had the ult, had the rage built up from hitting the tower. There was no reason for them to not to dive. And so he is just going to be so far behind Rander. And Rander, what we saw from the previous game, is going to probably look to blow that lead up huge.
Yeah, that's first turret gold solo over to that Kennen. So Rander's now a monster, up 30 CS, up a kill, up a turret. The gold differential in that top lane now nearly 2,000 gold. The gold differential in the game is only 2,500, so nearly all of that's on Rander. And if you're KA, you have to love it because he was the carry last game.
And he did finish out the Protobelt and the Mercury Treads and gets a Phoenix Kodak as well, so he's got a bunch of additional cooldown to go, which is what Kennen loves to have since he doesn't worry about his mana cost. And he got the Mercury Treads to help avoid damage from the Ryze and also reduce the CC on that Ryze cage. So In a 1v1 situation, a God of Love is going to be really hurting. And we also see a God of Love buying a Catalyst. He's going to go for the Rod of Ages. He's going to go for the Rod of Ages or the Abyssal Mass. I don't like either of those builds on Rise right now. Like, you are going to be way too far behind your build to keep up with the cannon at this point.
Yeah, that's the greedy scaling build, but Rise is 0-2 and getting decimated by this cannon. Even before the dives came out, he was already losing that lane a little bit. So refusing to get combat stats that you need, just deciding to buy more mana and health, definitely not the answer for God of Love. We see Rander going in to take these trades. Wasn't even a great trade for Kennen, but still a one trade nonetheless.
Yeah, we definitely need to see either Doc needs to get up here and start helping his top laner get some gold back in the situation, or get something out of this, or he needs to be looking to make a play, because if this game stays... Oh, on the bot lane though.
Yep, Melonmoss gets the engage onto Quang. The Prom ultimate's going to come in too. That's a pretty easy kill. KA getting a kill onto that Vayne with Dragon now up and teleport on Rander. It makes sense that they would be able to go for Dragon. It looks like the Rift Herald's going to be dropped bot lane. They're going to get a little pressure, look to get some plates bot lane and use that pressure to go towards the Dragon if I were them. Rander does have the teleport to join them as well, so KA executing this early game much better than they did last game. Kills coming down for them, the Vayne getting killed. The Braum unfortunately does pick up the kill with the Ignite. It looks like Doc and Foreign Guy not standing still to juke out the Tremor Sense, and now Melonmoss is in trouble. The Pykel is going to secure that kill. Tropical Crayon not there in time to use the ultimate to save poor Melonmoss. Rander gonna go for the flat or the ultimate Proto Belt, misses the Pike. The Pike actually flashes out Blonde Halfling, getting away from that. So the return kill coming out for Scott's Tots. Really well played by Doc just to stand still and bait Melonmoss into thinking that it was going to be a 1v1.
Yeah, he whiffed the Prey Seeker and only saw the Swain, so he thought he was safe to walk forward and then walked into the two people. And now actually overextending a little bit.
Yeah, Pie Dude gonna get caught out, not able to jump back to the teammates. So that's actually going to be the Braum going down. So though KA got 4 plates on that bot turret, they are going to lose the Dragon. That's Mountain Drake going over to the side of Scott's Tots. So they're coming back into this game, they get some return kills, just like we saw with the first Dragon play. KA starts the play by winning, stays on the map a little too long, and gives something back up in return. Still ahead, but you don't want to be trading even when you've got that greedy build on the Rise, you've got Rod of Ages on the Swain, and a Vayne too. Everything about Scott's Tots comp wants to scale, so if they can keep trading even in these early game plays, then they're going to come out on top as the game goes longer.
And Mountain Drake is definitely huge for this comp. Again, they've got the Vayne with the Blade, the Rune King on her side, and she'll have the Gensu's Blade later. And also Gragas does max HP damage to objectives also. So if they get us a free shot on a Baron on their side this time around, it's going to be kind of similar to the first game where they can just shred Baron.
We see more trades coming out mid lane. Tropical Crayon is getting beat up. Gonna have to drop that Zillion to keep himself alive, but Melonmoss goes in and erases Foreign Guy. Where did all that damage come from?
The combination of the bite and the bomb out of Zillion tagging Foreign Guy just barely in the butt, it just, oh my goodness. I don't think he was ready for that much damage. Like,
yeah, he had flash. He just didn't expect it. I wouldn't expect it either. Where did it come from?
Yeah, they do lose the turret in the boss side though, while that all happened. But yeah, there was no way Foreign Guy thought that was going to come in, so he does lose a kill back for it. That does allow more gold to go onto the side of KA to allow them to keep snowballing his lead. It's a little bit at a time, but you know, they probably want to look to start doing more with this.
Yeah, I mean, they get a kill, they get the bot turret completely unrelated to that kill. The two plays are independent of each other. The bot lane just got the turret by pressuring out the Scott's Tots bot lane, and then mid lane gets the kill because the jungler ganks. So they're able to generate leads in different parts of the map at the same time, which is what you want to see when you're trying to snowball a lead. Now mid lane's next up on the docket. You see now they're going to be starting to land these autos. They've already got the top and the bot outer turrets, and now mid lane falls right after. So that is all 3 outer turrets going down. KA growing their gold lead a little more. They're up by almost 5k gold at 15 minutes. So Rander this is a complete turnaround from what we saw last game.
Definitely. Rander can just sit there on the side and just him standing there forced both of them off the turret and Doc out of his jungle just because he's so far ahead right now with his ultimate. There's just no way you can get involved with Kennen. The Kennen will just ult on top of your face right now and will just delete you. We do see Rise finishing his... Oh, actually in the mid lane.
Foreign guy gonna flash out, but still get hit by the Braum ultimate. We see the ult from Doc not actually knocking people in the right direction, only sideways instead of backwards. So Doc's gonna pay for his life with that. Now Nalpa's in trouble, but with the Zillion ult on top, the Resurrection's going to come in, but Nalpa's still out of position. Braum on Paidu trying to go in and save the life. Now the Kedding's gonna go for the ultimate. Melonlot's gonna flash onto a God of Love. A God of Love goes down. We actually see Blonde Halfling get out of that fight on the backside. But that is a 2 for 0 in favor of KA. Doc at first and then a God of Love second. So KA, more kills, now pressuring another turret. They're growing their lead even more. Protobelt kind of doing a lot of damage. The stun goes down onto a foreign guy. The Zillion Bomb going to get the kill. Even with the Rek'Sai ultimate, the Zillion Bomb just comes in right before that damage. Now Paidude's in trouble, but the stopwatch comes in to save himself from Doc. The explosive caster, the Q is there, but it's just not enough. The Pike ult completely misses from Blonde Halfling. If that had landed, that could have been a Pike pentakill if those Pike ults came in one after another. But just completely whipping Paidude by the smallest little margin. And now Blonde Halfling is going to go down too. So we see Scott's Tots using the controversial one-at-a-time strat to keep giving kills over to Keola's Areolas.
Blonde Halfling has so many dollar signs in their eyes that he lost vision and he just whiffed everything at that point. You hate to see that kind of thing, but also Doc thought he could get a return kill on the Paidude. Paidude had the most perfectly timed stopwatch I've seen in a long time. Literally, Doc went for the flash body slam, which is a super quick animation cancel, and he just dodged it perfectly and was able to flash or step away from the barrel before it got up. And they don't lose a single thing. They got 2 turrets out of that play. They won that fight without anybody dying, and then they got 2 more kills at the very end for nothing. They didn't lose a single thing for that entire play.
Yeah, I think they ended up gaining 5 kills and 2 turrets on the whole without giving up anything. That's huge for KA when they need to snowball this game to make sure they don't get outscaled. We see some of these late game scaling items coming in for Scott's Tots. The Rod of Ages is now complete on that rise, so it's going to be the Archangels following. Paidude looking a little caught out, by the way, but or is it a God of Love who's caught out with a double Zillion Bomb in the Brommel? That is a dead rise. It was Paidude looking a little alone at first. God of Love said, "Oh, I'll come get this kill," and it was instead KA who had caught out Scott's Tots. Now Tropical Crayon in trouble. The Zillion ult is there, so he's just going to be able to walk out. There's enough members of KA around to protect Tropical Crayon and make sure that if the Resurrect comes in, then that Zillion is not going to go down.
Yeah, a little weird. Everybody's playing on the top side of the map. Dragon's getting ready to spawn for free, though, and while Rander and Melanos are there at the exact same time, they're going to get this Drake for absolutely free.
Yeah, and there are no wards on the bot half of the map. There's 1 pink ward on the blue buff. That's all KA has in order to inform this dragon play, but they're confident enough that they've got it because they've seen so many members of Scott's Tots on the top side. So that's a Mountain Drake for KA. Now they're even on Mountain Dragons. They get that objective control that they need. They've got the potential to burst these down. Kaisa known for her objective take. So that's big for them. Tropical Crayon looking a little worried. Flashing before the Pike hook comes out. Getting stunned up by that Pike. Blonde Halfling not going to miss the ult this time. Securing the kill, though there's no assist, so it's just money onto that Pike.
Yeah, Tropical Crayon is having a rough series so far. He did have some amazing double bombs in that mid lane fight. He got 3 off in a row that just were huge for stunning up multiple people at a single time. But overall, he's got to do some skill shot dodging practice or something. You know, if I get to a practice game or something, have someone shoot skill shots out so he can dodge. But because I haven't seen him dodge a single thing yet, and it's starting to really hurt them, honestly.
Yeah, I think as well, when you're pushing up like that, you need to be sure that you've got backup. You burned your Zillion ult in that earlier fight, so you can't keep yourself alive. If you're gonna flash, you need to make sure when you flash that you're gonna dodge the ability that guarantees your death. You've got Zillion E2, so you can run so fast. You just gotta zigzag, bob and weave, and that Pike is gonna be hard to land. But the flash comes in too early. Blonde Halfling lands the difficult to land hook, and Tropical Crayon goes down, giving a kill over. But it's not the end of the world. You know, kills on the Pike are the last thing you're worried about, I think, if you're KA. He's the one champion on the side of Scott's Tots that doesn't skill as hard as the rest of the team. So just 1 kill here and there isn't going to spell doom for them.
And also, while Blonde Pipe feels a little bit better by landing a dunk finally and getting a kill back on their side, Vayne didn't get anything out of that, so there was no assist going over.
Again. This time with ultimate. Now it's Doc who's caught out. The stun comes down. Brommel comes down. Melonlot's is there. And Tropical Crayon says, it is not I who's caught out, but Blonde Halfling once again ulting that Zillion. So it's a trade of 1 for 1. The assist actually comes down this time, so free gold going over to Doc for the death. Melonlot's looking to find Blonde Halfling. The Tremor Sense is a huge counter to Pike because you can see him even when he's stealth. Looks like the chase is on going for Blonde Halfling. There's a turret there, so this doesn't look too hot. The Void Seeker is going to hit Blonde Halfling as well, so... Well,
he did actually take
the yakety sacks.
I wasn't sure if he just out of range or what there, but they are going to clean up the kill finally. But that took a long time, so that is going to buy Scott's Tots some time to get back on the map. But they do have the Mountain Drake, and they know this Baron is invisible, but they don't see the ward right outside. But I think they actually still want to go for that Baron play.
We see the pings coming down from Scott's Tots and the blue trinket immediately that follows. So KA knows they've been spotted out. They know that this Baron is not the freest. Doc is alive.
It's going down fast.
Blonde Halflings spent enough time to save the Baron. Now the teleport coming in from a God of Love. Rander has not yet followed because Rander's already behind, but kill's already going down for Scott's Tots. They get the follow, but here comes Rander with the burst, and Quang absolutely disappears. Now a God of Love is stunned. Naltha is still alive on that Kaisa. We see the flash from a foreign guy to get the kill on there, but Rander and Tropical Crayon going to take down foreign guy. Just a ton of scrapping going down, but it looks like KA going to emerge on top. They had the 5v4 because Blonde Halfling was not in the fight at all. It ends up being a 3-for-4 in their favor. Not the greatest win, but a decent win nonetheless. All summoners burned, a God of Love the only one to not teleport into that fight.
And that's where you see the power of the Zillion. No matter how bad of a game Tropical Crayon is having, his ult is still powered. He will save Kaisa by a lot of time for him to come back and get more damage out of that fight. And also Rander, how huge his lead is, showed up right there. He came in, ulted, deleted 3 people of Scott's Tots in a single fight. Almost deleted Foreign Guy in time, but Foreign Guy did get that flash out also to get that kill back. And so overall, they did stop the Baron, so maybe they're going to look at that as their small win condition, but that just kind of shows that if they don't start getting some proper objective control or something like that, that's how these fights are going to go happen every single time.
Yeah, it was decent from KA. You want to see it get a little cleaner. The Kennen wasn't in the fight at the start. If the Kennen's there from the get-go and engaging the fight instead of coming in after a couple members have already gone down, then you know that KA is going to win that fight harder. Scott's Tots still scaling though. The longer this goes, the more they're going to get their items. We see a Spirit Visage coming in for Foreign Guy. The Archangel Staff nearly completed for a God of Love, and it won't be long to upgrade that to the... I'm blanking on the name of it, but the upgraded version of Archangel Staff.
Well, that is the upgraded name, actually.
Oh,
you got it.
What's the smaller one then?
Seraph's Embrace. Is that the upgraded one? Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah, I got you now.
I think Seraph's Embrace is the upgrade.
There we go. But I got the idea where you got there. But actually, the Spirit Visage on Foreign Guy is a really good build because almost actually all except for the Rek'Sai.
Hi, dude, caught out. That's 4 members ready to kill him. Tropical Crayon just a little too far away, so that's a pick onto the Braum. Not the ideal target to get a pick. You still have Rander alive. You still have Naltha alive. You'd really have loved to have caught the Kaisa there, but that's going to get them a little more Baron control. It looks like Melamos is going to say, well, they've clearly got the Baron, so how about I go take an Infernal Drake? And Scott's Tots now rushing down this Baron. There's no contest from the side of KA. They're just giving it over. They're going to trade an Infernal Drake for the Baron. Nothing doing for them. They just want the Braum death.
Oh, Tropical, what are you doing?
Oh, no.
What?
Tropical Crayon.
And then he uses the ult, too.
I'm watching
too!
Due to commentary, the stun into the wall is going to kill Tropical Crayon. The Baron just secured. And now, KA shows up to the fight. Melamos and Naltha are here. There's enough damage from that Kaisa that's going to be able to kill Foreign Guy as long as Foreign Guy doesn't kill Naltha first. Naltha's running away, but Melamos is there, and now this teleport
Wait a minute.
very unfortunate. You can't cancel that spell anymore, so God of Love just donating a kill over to KA. So the Baron's secured for the side of Scott's Tots, but they give up an Infernal Dragon and 3 kills. It's only left on the Gragas and the Pike, and the Kennen, meanwhile, gets to hit this bot turret for free. So you don't want to give up a turret if you're Baron if you're KA, but if you're going to give up the Baron, that's the way to do it. You get a lot of gold back, you get a turret, you get a dragon. Not everything going bad for them. They lost their Braum at the start and then made the most of the situation.
I'm gonna change my opinion. You know, I think Tropical Crayon is actually 200 IQ. Like, he knew he could bait them into staying in that Baron long enough for his team to come back to the Baron and clean up those kills. And they just got so much out of that play. They forced a teleport out of God of Love. They got a free turret out of that. They took out the Baron on those 3 members that you mentioned there. Yeah, so that only leaves it on 2 members left at this point. So that was actually... I'm not sure that was what they were intending to do with that play or not, but it definitely worked out in their favor.
Tropical Crayon is all alone, and there are a lot of enemies running for that Zillion.
Oh,
Looks
no.
like Juke School coming in hot for Tropical Crayon. It's hard to juke when it's right in your face.
But
the Zillion ult is up, so they can buy some time. And on the rest of the map, KA is really making some stuff happen. So Tropical Crayon running into the turret, dodging everything, but not being able to dodge the body slam. Now Doc and Blonde Halfling need to get back to base because they are losing turrets. They are losing parts of the map. Tropical Crayon gives the life, and Melonloss is
wait a minute.
to disturb the recalls even more. It looks like the Braum and the Kaisa are coming to help out. The kill onto Doc, that's so much damage. There's a GA on Melonloss as well, so now Dude and Nalthar are
he's
in
leaving
the fight.
He just ditched Forward Guy!
Forward Guy gets abandoned. Forward Guy's gonna go down too. So KA getting a ton of kills. Tropical Crayon is just a giant bag of bait. So the Zillion goes down, but the rest of Scott's Tots goes down for it. And they lost a turret at the start of that play as well. The mid-inner goes down. KA once again on top. The Baron now left only on Blonde Halfling, I believe.
Yeah, they're just using Tropical Crayon as a bait at this point. Every single time he dies, they get 3 or 4 kills back, and it works out perfectly.
Dude caught a little bit out, but not caught out enough. Flashes back, uses the stand beside me to get out as well. And now this top inner turret gonna fall down as well. So KA give up the Baron. And Rander gets the clean engage. God of Love disappears. Now Quang is caught out on the wrong side of the map. The Pike ult going to actually get the kill onto Dude. Not gonna have enough damage to kill Rander, and Blonde Halfling has to flash out. So it's a 1-for-1 there, but the turret did fall at the start of the play, and only Dude falls on the side of KA. They're really making this work. It's not ideal, but a great engage from Rander gets the damage down, gets the kill, and they're able to secure some serious objectives. Drop Crayon, my boy.
Goes down again, but they're gonna get another kill out of it almost. Wait,
nope.
Oh, not quite enough to tick down. The Prey Seeker is off as well, so it doesn't quite get that. Overall, though, outside of these small stuff going on, these plays keep favoring KA, and obviously we can't see how much the gold has changed during the game, but I do know that the goal lead has gotten bigger since they picked up that Baron. So they are actually losing. They're losing gold on this power play.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting to see how Tropical Crayon is playing this Zillion. On the side of KA, they have 16 deaths, so Tropical Crayon is responsible for 7 of 16. It's nearly half is this Zillion just getting picked. Blonde Halfling really just trying to find the Zillion as often as possible. I think that Scott's Tots have identified that Tropical Crayon doesn't really know where to be, and Blonde Halfling is trying to take advantage of that as much as possible. I'm liking this Pike pick for this reason, because that Pike has been the Zillion's kryptonite so far this game.
Definitely, they are playing to that Wing Edition very well, and it's, so far, I mean, it's been some bad picks, it's been some gold given over, but it hasn't hurt them too much yet. But this is Zillion. If Zillion doesn't have his ult at the start of the fight, that could be huge.
Dude caught out, going to land the Braum ultimate onto a couple members of Scott's Tots. Teleport coming in, the double bomb from Tropical Crayon doing some serious damage to Foreign Guy and Blonde Halfling. A couple major cooldowns burn, mostly on the side of KA, but they get a teleport as well, so now it's a 5v5 over this Infernal Drake. We have not seen a dragon other than an Infernal or a Mountain at any point in this series.
They're going, Bad Day is going actually to mid to actually get some free push in the mid lane. Tropical is caught out for just a moment, he's not gonna die.
He's a little caught out. No one has actually recalled to answer the Naltha push, so Scott's Tots is looking to win this fight because they don't have an 80 carry on the side of KA, but Rander gets a clean engage, not able to secure any kill. Melonloss is looking onto Quang, but it's not able to happen. The Pike ult only going to hit the resurrecting Zillion. Now Pike almost down, no bombs there to clean up, but in the meantime, Naltha has taken an inhibitor, so it is 2 kills over to Scott's Tots, but at the cost of their base. An interesting trade for KA. I'm not sure that's the cleanest macro. You don't really want to give up kills to take an inhibitor, and you don't want to give up a dragon either, but they're able to make it happen. Scott's Tots secure the Infernal Drake at the cost of that inhibitor. Very interesting play for KA. Rander now caught out as well, by the way. That hook going to secure the kill. The Zanya's not going to save poor Rander's life. That hook was a death.
Wait!
And now the goes back in 1v4, getting a kill back onto Quang. Seeing the opportunity and taking it, having to flash out, but you take that for a kill onto the Vayne. Tons of kills going down now. Lots of skirmishing and scrapping. Baron has spawned, so both teams are going to be looking to that very soon.
But the inhibitor did go down, so that is just going to give them constant pressure in the mid lane, kind of give them some advantage for fighting around this Baron, give them that little bit of advantage. They both have a single Mountain Drake, so they do have the even footing on that side. KA does have the 2 Infernal Drakes, couldn't get that third for them due to how that all went down. But they're actually starting the Baron right now. There's no one around to answer it.
Yeah, with the Mountain and Double Infernal, they do it quickly. Kaisa, unfortunately, not in the fight, and the right member of Scott's Tots is getting near the Baron as quickly as possible. The pink ward comes into the pit. It does spot out KA, but we see the teleport coming out to try and contest this Baron. They're pushing it down. It's getting low. It's going to be onto Doc for the steal, but the double bomb stuns Doc. Doc actually going to go in and die. Baron goes over to KA, and they get the pick onto the jungler as well. They hardly lose their health bars. So well played by KA. An excellent double bomb by Tropical Crayon to make sure that goes down. And now Melonloss is looking towards Blonde Halfling, trying to get some more kills. This top wave is pushed out pretty far already. So with the Baron, they're going to be able to start looking to crack the base even more than it already is.
Yeah, they already have the supers pushing on mid. They already have waves set up with a cannon in the top lane. So there should be this group as 5-man here. They have nothing to stop them at the moment.
And
but
on the side of Scott's Tots, they don't have a high wave clear comp. There's no Sivir this game to stall out these pushes or force KA to throw. It's just going to be a full inhibitor with that advantage on the jungler. The 5v4 is enough to win. And now Melonloss is looking for more of a fight. The Bramble, which way going to hit? Rettinger getting to engage as well. The Blonde Halfling down on Pike almost immediately. Quang pops the Rek'Sai GA, but Naltha's firing back onto Quang. The Kaisa damage not quite enough. The Zillion Resurrect is there. They're just going to go ahead and ditch Naltha. Naltha actually getting the kill onto the Gragas. Quang just left.
Walked away!
Not to fight at all. And now the Rek'Sai ult's going to clean up the Rise. What's Quang doing? Leaving the fight that they've won. And now KA wipes the floor and is able to strike back in game 2. They are going to end this game and push the series to 1-1. They actually get the clean fight. The ace comes down, Quang dying on top of the fountain. And we are going to be going to game 3.
My goodness, what happened there right at the end, that Kaisa was respawning the Zillion ult, and they all just walked away from her. So she respawned at full HP, this is a full AP Zillion. She's going to spawn with all of her health back, and they left Doc alone with 200 HP to 1v1 her. He just got blown up, and that just ended the game.
Yeah, interesting decision from Scott's Tots. I think Quang probably needed to stay there to fight it out. An excellent Zillion ult from Tropical Crayon. Though Tropical Crayon started dying a lot in these games, we saw some clutch double bombs to close that game out, stunning the Gragas so that he couldn't steal the dragon, couldn't steal the Baron, ulting the Kaisa so that they win that last team fight. Rander with the really clean engages to make sure that they're able to get these kills they need. Every single cannon ult was on point. So KA able to win a game 2 much cleaner than game 1 was. They kind of showed Scott's Tots how to convert an early lead into an easy win. So congrats to them. We are going to go to break, and we will be back in just a few minutes to get you into game 3.
sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip as pulled you into me. When I let you go, it just pulled you closer. It's a long departure. Before I see you again, before it all makes sense, but I can't hold you back. And I still don't understand where it came from, but you're back in with the passion. I'm awake with the flame in a hailstorm. I'm back in, I gotta have it. Everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip as pulled you into me. When I let you go, it just pulled you closer. It's a long departure. It's a long departure.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to round 3 between Scott's Tots and Keola's Areolas. We just saw a very dominating game 2 out of KA. They were able to get an early lead and just push it all the way through into the enemy nexus and clean it up. So, going to be interesting to see how both teams adjust going to game 3. I want to see some decent change coming out of Scott's Tots. They lost all their lanes early. They definitely don't want to draft any losing matchups at this point. And so we're going to kind of see what they make some adjustments for. Right now, we do see the bans going fairly similar to how they have been. We see Vladimir out on KA. We see Silas banned out on the side of Scott's Tots. Don't want to deal with that. But we do see the Rumble ban. They don't want Rander to have that again. They must have decided that the cannon, while it was still really strong, still not as terrifying to deal with as the buff Rumble lately. Renekton coming out on the side of KA again. That's been a constant ban on their side. He's just a pretty strong lane bully. God of Love, I do think, does play a good bit of it. So with the new Conqueror, Renekton is a pretty strong matchup there. Kindred, the last ban for phase 1 on the side of Scott's Tots, another strong pick right now. They just don't want Melanis to have that. And the final ban for KA, they're still thinking about it though. What do you think is going to happen this game though, Cole?
I believe that was a Rek'Sai ban, so that means that finally Red Side has taken away the Rek'Sai power pick. It's been first picked in the first 2 games, so finally the Red Side team says no more of that. Rek'Sai has been a monster both games so far, getting fed, doing just tons of damage, and KA doesn't want to have to face it again. Though the Olaf was a decent answer to it, it's much easier to just ban it away and say, let's not deal with that. So going into this game, I think Scott's Tots needs to look to win in a different way. They're not sure about their early game. They got out macroed for much of game 2. They got out macroed for much of game 1 as well. They just won lane so hard due to KA over aggression. So I don't think they can bank on that. So they're going to need to be looking to change something up. They did win mid lane last game, so I think it makes sense for them to go play through mid this game around. If they can pick the Swain again, perhaps that's good. We've seen Tropical Crayon struggling on Orianna and Zilean, getting caught out and picked a lot. So getting a mid laner who can kind of force mistakes out of Tropical Crayon is, I think, what I want to see from Scott's Tots. And I want to see a jungler who's going to look to be capitalizing on that as well. KA's taken the Urgot and the Jarvan. Urgot still a huge power pick. Jarvan, one of the strongest junglers in the game. And it looks like Scott's Tots have taken the Hecarim right back. That's probably going to be jungle Hecarim and Psy on top. Hecarim, another decent pick in the jungle. Does have some difficulties into Jarvan because his E can be interrupted by a Jarvan R. So Jarvan's really good at stopping Hecarim from getting to the backline, especially when Hecarim doesn't have flash. It's customary to take Ghost on Hecarim jungle. So Jarvan really likes dunking a Hecarim because there's no way for him to get out unless he uses his ultimate. And like I said, we do see that Swain coming from Scott's Tots as well. They're looking to be dominant in the mid lane. That pick did work out for them. They lost not because of the Swain pick, but because they ended up taking fights where they were outnumbered. And interestingly, it looks like KA is going to take the Zilean to answer the Swain. We saw Scott's Tots pick Swain as a counter to Zilean last game, and then get the first blood solo kill. So what do you think about picking Zilean right back into Swain after seeing how that matchup went game 1?
They must be thinking that they don't care how bad the 1v1 went for Tropical Crown the first time around. They just want the ability to have the Zilean XP bonus, the ult, and the speed up. They must just rely, no matter how bad you do with Zilean, the ult is always there, the speed up is always there. He always gets that little bit of XP that he can get to his team to help kind of snowball them ahead of their advantages. So maybe they're actually just thinking, we're probably going to lose mid, but we might as well get something that's going to help us no matter how this lane goes. But Foreign Guy did have an absolutely monstrous game on the Swain. Did, try his best to carry his team through the previous game. Didn't quite work out for him as well, but in the 1v1, he was able to pretty much win that 1v1 handily, and then he didn't really convert it around the map though, so maybe they're also banking on that while it's a hard lose mid, that is not going to be the end of the world for them. But we do see the phase 2 bans coming out. A lot of hyper carries removed. We got rid of the Kaisa, the Jinx, and the Vayne. All three gone away. As top as the Sivir gets picked, kind of the last popular hyper carry that's left at the moment. So apparently they want to go back to how it went last game. They just want to have kind of a strong top side and then pick Sivir just in case it goes late. They can just clear waves and let them play to their macro abilities.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't want to have Scott's Tots on hyper carries. We know that Quang's a big Jinx and Vayne player. It's kind of generous of Scott's Tots to ban that Vayne away. And the Kaisa, of course, taken off the table as well, because you don't want both 80 carries on a hyper carry. Now, the picks are coming in. That's actually a Sona picked up for Quang. We can't see the graphic just yet, but it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with that pick, because we do know about Sona Tarek.
There it is!
Like it's locked.
There it is!
It's the Sona Tarek. Goldline and I have been excited about this. We've wanted to see it all weekend. And Scott Tots in Game 3 of this matchup, they're pulling out the cheese. The Sona Tarek lane. You want to explain to the people at home who are a little confused about this, what's the idea behind it?
This is the finest Gouda cheese you can find at the moment in the market. Sona doesn't even need the farm early on. She takes the Klepto, she takes the Spell Thief, and just pokes and pokes and pokes, gets so much gold out of that, while Tarek bringing the Targons, and he actually does the early CSing. He gets gold for himself, and it also continually funnels more gold into the Sona that way. And then as far as the mid game goes, both of these characters are stacking mana out of the mana regen that they get from their items, and if they get poked out, take a little bit of damage, they can heal it right back up. They both heal each other, and they also have ults that keep them perfectly safe. Sona can stun the entire enemy team, get her stuff out safely, and then Tarek's invulnerability can keep them both safe. It's just, don't touch us. We're going to get all this free gold. There's nothing you can do to us. You're going to have to play elsewhere.
Yeah, and so interestingly about Sona Tarek as well is it's actually just kind of two supports. Sona will build a little more AP than you might expect out of a traditional support Sona. I'd be a little surprised if she's the one building the Ardent Sensor and Redemption. Usually it's the Tarek that actually ends up building those items. Sona starts farming when she completes her Spell Thief's Frostfang quest, and then she starts getting some serious damage because she hurts with a Q auto in late game. And so with two supports, the Sona heal is one of the best heals late game. Unlike Soraka, she doesn't actually have to compromise her own health in order to survive. And then Tarek can keep her alive as well. So with two supports, the Hecarim is going to be terrifying. Swain is going to be able to get right into the middle of KA and do some serious damage. Sion, maybe not the best champion to have two supports for. I think you'd like to see a little more range damage out of Scott's Tots. If they're looking to work with this Sona Tarek strat, it does work better when you've got someone who can do a little more from afar for the supports to buff up a little more. But the strat remains the strat. It'll be interesting to see how it works into Sivir Thresh. Sivir does have some serious wave clear early game, so it's going to be hard for them to keep up with that when Sona's not farming and Tarek's the one left to CS. So, interesting comps out of these two teams. KA's kind of doing much of what they've done in these first two games. They're just going to run at Scott's Tots. They've got the Jarvan for hard engage, paired with the Sivir. Their engage is really, really hard to respond to. But Scott's Tots now has some serious engage too, with a Hecarim, with a Tarek ult. Sion can run in there. There's a lot of different tools at their disposal. In any case, we have gotten onto the Rift. We are waiting for champions to start dropping in. We are going to see what goes down in Game 3, this pivotal Game 3 in Week 4 of Dominate Premade.
Some notable things I want to point out right off the bat there. Both junglers are opting for the Conqueror mastery, or the Keystone, which is a pretty strong Keystone on its own. Kind of weird to see it out of Jarvan. Jarvan doesn't usually brawl long enough to get that use. He usually makes a bit more use of the electric Q because he's pretty much a guaranteed proc of that when he gets his knockup. But also Doc on the Hecarim going for Conqueror. Actually, okay, he's going to get out safely. Some foreign guy just walked into two people, so that's a bit rough on him. But normally on the Hecarim, he did take the Ghost, which is normal for him, as you mentioned, but he didn't actually take the Predator. Is a bit strange on his side.
Hold on for a moment, because
I
think our stream is behind us. We've loaded in game and we can see what's going on, but the stream is stuck frozen at 0 seconds, so got a couple technical difficulties. Hold on tight while we try to fix those up. Our streamer's gonna load the game right back up, so we'll see you all in a couple moments. Hopefully we'll be back in a minute or two once these technical difficulties have been sorted out.
Certainly, and in the meantime, we could still just talk about the actual compositions and the runes and masteries that they're going for. Do you think it's normal for Hecarim to get any use out of Conqueror on his? It does go proc on abilities now, so you can get some more use of it. But do you think that's better than actually going to the Predator?
With the way Hecarim Q stacks up, I think it's interesting. I like Predator. I actually play a lot of Hecarim jungle, and I've never even considered Conqueror an option, so I'm not entirely used to that myself. But it makes sense to me. His Q damage ramps up over time, so there's something interesting to be said there. It might be unexpected out of the Hecarim for things to start happening Thankfully, our stream has caught up, so we can get started talking about the way this early game has gone. Nothing too spicy. Some decent jungle starts. Both junglers starting on the bot side of the map. No summoners burned of note, just some early trading.
Totally, and one thing we do want to know about is actually the top lane as well. Their Urgot Scion 1v1 is back. A lot of people weren't a big fan of that when it was there in Worlds, but this time around, Scion is a lot less stronger. He's been hit with both his damage power and his mana cost, but then at the same time, Urgot's damage has become buff. So previously, Scion was what you took against Urgot to just survive the lane. But Urgot actually probably wins the lane a lot harder now, so we'll see if he actually can make use of that. Randar has definitely won each lane so far, so I do think he's going to be able to abuse it pretty effectively, but we'll have to see if he actually can follow through with that.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, with the way Urgot W got changed into a toggle, I would think that he's going to win those fights. We see a gank coming down bot lane. Doc going to get the gank off. A nice stun from Blonde Halfling. And not having a bad day is going to have to flash away. Pydude actually lands a death sentence, but there's no play to follow it up and get Doc into the turret. So it's just going to be a couple summoners for both teams. It's the flash and ghost out of Doc for both flashes and the heal out of the KA bot lane.
Yeah, and I guess during the catch-up there, we do see the Ignite is just about to come back off cooldown, so he will have that shortly on Pydu, which Ignite could be really strong against the Sona Taric bot lane. You do cut the healing in half, but at the same time, when there's that much healing coming out and shielding coming out from each other, you gotta wonder if the Ignite is actually enough on its own to actually win them a 2v2.
Yeah, Ignite unfortunately doesn't reduce shielding health, so the Sona W does give a shield to anyone standing within the aura. Taric W also a shield, so there's a lot of ways to prevent Ignite from mattering all that much. But you see, like we said, Sivir is farming a lot. Sona actually does have some CS, which is going to slow down the completion of her quest. That matters a little less when she's sitting on just spell thieves, because the 11 gold per poke is not nearly as much as the 22 you get with Frostfang, but it is going to slow down her ability to start farming later in the game the more CS she lats hits.
Yeah, those are definitely gold you want to be giving her the Taric early on there. You don't want her to be taking those, because as you said, it does affect the Spell Thief passive early on until she can finish the Keystone item, or the Sightstone item. But one thing as you mentioned there, server is free farming at the moment, which that is kind of the downside to this cheesy lane, is you do allow the enemy AD carry almost no pressure, which gives them ability to try and farm up freely. And someone like Sivir, if she gets her gold faster, it's really strong for her.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the idea, and because Sivir can push the lane so hard, it will especially become prominent once that Essence Reaver is completed on Sivir. I'd imagine that's what you rush on her, because it just gives you so much free mana to push the wave. That's going to make it even harder for Sona to farm, because Sona Taric, not a great wave clear lane. Heavy trades coming down top lane. Randar getting dangerously low, has to flash away. I gotta love is going to take the Summoner spell and not get too greedy to flash after. So that's actually a big win for Gotta Love on that Scion. Top lane going a little differently than we've seen it so far in all of these games. But it's also worth mentioning that mid lane's going a little differently too. Tropical Crayon is doing just fine against this Swain.
Yeah, he's holding steady. He did just use teleport to get back to lane, so and we do see foreign guys about to go base as well. Most likely going to use his teleport to get back. He's holding dead even in CS, not getting bullied out this time around. So as far as the actual individual lanes are going for, on one side it is feeling apparently being normal. As far as KA goes, it's going better for them in the mid lane, but not in the top lane. But then for Scott's Tots, it's going a lot better in the top lane this time around, but going dead even in the mid lane. So definitely a little bit of a switcheroo.
I want to point out something gigantic that we haven't talked about yet, and it's the CS differential in the jungle. Sorry, I'm coughing. But that is 47-20. How does that happen?
That is what happens when your Jarvan does power farms, and Hecarim did stand around bot lane for a long time. He did have that failed gank, which did allow, I believe, Melanis did go into the topside jungle to steal some away from the Hecarim, but also Doc did come back down and spend a lot of time just standing in the bot river.
Pydude's gonna throw out the lantern, try to go for the hook. It's not gonna land, but here comes Melonloss onto Quang. The Cataclysm is there. Quang has already flashed, so that is one dead Sona. Death Sentence now going to land on the Blonde Halfling. Is that going to be enough to kill the Taric? Running back to turret. Jarvan now taking up the shots because the Swain W, not having a bad day, walks into the turret to donate the kill to Swain. just giving a free kill over
It's
by
not
eating
over.
the turret shot. And now foreign guy is here. Dude has no summoners, never moved, just barely misses, but the Taric stun's going to connect, and that's going to guarantee the kill. So an excellent roam from foreign guy, picking up a double kill, not having a bad day, just kind of said, hey, this turret looks kind of cool. I'd like to give it a hug.
And just as we were talking about Milana's having that good pathing and getting so far ahead in CS,
Rander's coming really close. The Scion ult screen having for him to get away. And here comes Doc, not going to get the knockback in the right direction. Rander able to just walk out. And Urgot had no flash, so perhaps that could have been a kill, but Doc
he's still level 5 on this Doc also. He's still level 5 still on this Hecker Room, which is still really far behind Milana's. Milana's did a great job. He got 6 and he down there and ulted onto Quang and Blonde Halfling before they got their ults up, which is kind of the big power spike for the Sona Taric bot lane. But unfortunately, as we saw it play out there, the foreign guy got 2 kills out of that. He's already, he's still down a little bit of CS as far as Tropical Crayon goes, but 2 kills is heavily worth 5 CS.
Yeah, and that CS differential came from the room that gave Foreign Guy 2 kills in the first place, so you take that trade. Now here comes Melonloss for a God of Love. We know the Scion ults down. Scion does still have flash. Rander gonna get the flip, but God of Love not even gonna burn flash to try to get out. That's just a kill right over to Rander. So now Rander's gonna have a lead in this lane. After having to burn flash to survive earlier, we see that Urgot's gonna hopefully start snowballing for KA. That's what their wish is. Down a little bit of CS, but being able to push the wave is certainly going to help. Death Sentence just misses on Quang, by the way.
In the bot lane, though, we do see the Sona's already on the Frostfang of the second upgrade of that, so she's going to start getting 22 gold per poke every time she casts an ability, and she also has the tier of the Goddess, so she's going to start stacking that up. So when she is able to free farm or able to complete that item, she's just going to get a huge burst of mana sustain and AP, so that's going to make her healing and her Qs and just hurt so much on her side.
And something I failed to notice last time is that actually with the Targon's Brace, when you last hit a minion on the Taric, it adds to the creep score of that Sona. So it's not that she's been last hitting to deactivate her spell piece, it's just the donated farm from that Taric.
I thought they had changed that, but yeah, you are correct. I knew that's definitely what it used to do, but so that is our mistake on that side. But so Sona's not messing up her farm at least.
Yeah, she has nearly 400 gold out of 500 to complete her quest. It's at 364 right now, so just 4 or 5 more bits of poke, and she will be able to farm because that quest will be complete. And then it will not deactivate once it has been completed, so that gold generation doesn't turn off for the rest of the game. Some more heavy trades coming out of the mid lane. Tropical Crayon able to fire back at least a little bit, so that Zilean holding its own against the Swain this time around. The build for Swain definitely a little ahead of where Zilean is at this point. Catalyst and Blasting Wand versus Blasting Wand and just that Ruby Crystal. That's the difference that you get from 2 kills. Death Sentence in the bot lane, hitting a melee minion. That melee minion just barely in the way. Could have been a kill if Haidu aimed it a little bit off, or if that minion had been a little less healthy. Trades in the top lane still going to be going in Scion's way, I believe. Rander's taking a fight inside a minion wave. It's actually being won very hard. Scion's ulting in the other direction. Going to run into the wall, so Rander has the opportunity to get a kill. The Urgot ult whiffs just to the left a little bit. And while that was happening, we saw Doc taking down that Mountain Drake. No contest from the side of KA, so Scott's Tots gets an objective. But we see the snowball starting to have an effect in the top lane without the cleaver even completed yet.
But as far as the bot lane goes, this is another advantage of the Sona Taric is, Doc went in there, he is full HP. He does have, Hecarim does have a decent amount of sustain on his own, but when you're taking these early objectives or anything like that, it doesn't matter how low you get, you have 2 healers just constantly helping you the entire time.
Melonloss strolling Tropical Crayon, letting the Rift Herald hit the Zilean to stop the recall. Just a little bit of friendly messing with your teammates there. The Herald's going to go down for KA. So they trade back for that Dragon. They know the Hecarim's on the bot side of the map. And Doc probably didn't expect the Herald to go down quite so soon. Now it looks like Melonloss is looking at the top lane. Not very healthy. Might drop the Herald. Yep, there it goes. So that's going to be some plates on that top turret as soon as Rander and Melonloss are able to clear that wave.
And that is going to help Rander get so much gold early, which is going to help him snowball this even harder, to help him maybe even complete that Black Cleaver right away. And Scion, while he does have his shout, it did get nerfed with his damage and its mana cost, so it doesn't have as much wave clear as it used to. So he does lose what looks like 2 plates at that point, but foreign guy's there also. Yeah,
and here comes foreign guy. I don't think anything's going to happen here. Here comes the teleport. So KA wants to take the fight. Rander flashes out of the Scion queue. The dunk comes onto foreign guy. Foreign guy's going to flash away from the double bomb. Now Doc is going in 1v3. The Zillion ult's going to keep Rander alive. Foreign guy wants to find something. The Hecarim ult's going to come in. Melonloss just flashes right out of that one. No one's going to go down. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Pydude finally lands that hook onto Quang, but Sona's going to fire the ult back. No Flay to keep the Sona closer to the Sivir. So no kills despite all of the cooldowns burned. We saw the Zillion teleport top lane. Every ult on the top side of the map goes on to cooldown. No one goes down. So overall, nothing for nothing. A few extra summoners burned on the side of KA.
But there we just saw he did land a hook onto the squishy Sona and pop the ignite that would normally kill a Sona, but between Tark and Sona and her ult, she's just able to self-sustain. Has a barrier also to help keep herself alive. Doesn't even have to have the flash to safety during that. One notable thing when Tropical Crayon burning that teleport to go to the top lane, Foreign guy walked up there ahead of time, or he predicted the play was going to go down, so he still has his teleport in case something breaks out across the map.
Yeah, and I want to point out in this bot lane, by the way, that there is so much more gold on that Sona than on that Sivir. Despite the giant CS discrepancy, that Frostfang is making up so much money. So Sona is at 4,000 gold, whereas Sivir's at 3,500. So Sona has a 500 gold lead with no extra kills or objectives. And then Taric, because Taric has been farming, is up 600 gold on that Thresh. So that bot lane has an 1100 CS differential, despite the fact that they've been farming less and don't have any objectives. That is huge, and that's where the gold lead for Scott's Tots is coming out of right now.
Oh,
right now, landing a stun onto Pydude, but Pydude is going to fire right back.
Oh, the old thing!
Will come down. Melonloss is looking for the kills, but is going to get lanterned away. So again, nothing for nothing. No one's going down in any of these fights, just lots of even trades. But it is going to be more on the side of Scott's Tots because they had to use that Swain roam. In the meantime, Tropical Crayon's able to sit mid lane, but instead going to find the Swain in the jungle, going to take another big chunk of health. And Quang is getting... Actually, Quang has now completed the quest, so that Sona is farming.
Well, another thing we want to point out there is he had all that happen to him. He about died. Tark's ult kept him alive, and with the double sustain, he didn't go base. He just healed back at the full HP. He hasn't gone base or anything like that. He's just got sustained perfectly back up. Did have to burn the flash to keep himself alive there, but essentially lost nothing in the long run as far as the actual gold goes, where they didn't give over any deaths or anything.
Yeah, they don't even lose farm to that gank. They just keep going. And now that Sona's quest is complete, she earns money for poking and she earns money for farming, and one doesn't deactivate the other. So that Sona's going to be earning much more gold than Not Having a Bad Day is going to be earning on that Sivir. That Sona's just going to be ridiculously high income as this game goes on longer. And that's kind of the point of the Sona Taric strat. And Sona scales so hard with all of her abilities and low cooldowns that having all that gold makes her very scary. Hook's going to land on the blonde halfling.
Oh!
This time there is no Taric ult. There's a 3-man Sona ult out of Quang, but there's a Cataclysm. They know that Sona has no flash, so Cataclysm going to secure the kill onto Sona. Blonde halfling almost going to go down after. Zillion double bomb not going to do anything. We have 4 members of KA down here trying to get this dive off. It's just going to be 1 kill, but with Dragon spawning so soon, they're looking to secure that objective as well. Quang is not going to be on the map for that fight. And while we're looking bot lane at this kill, Rander finally gets that first turret in the top lane. The chip damage from that Herald, combined with plating finally going down, spells doom for that turret. The Urgot snowballing, and it looks like we're going to get a dive on the blonde halfling. No ult from this Taric.
Oh, Doc's here though.
Doc for the dive stop. Now Pydude's stuck underneath the turret. Not having a bad day, he's going down to the turret. That's a triple kill for Doc. That dive was just a little too slow. All of Scott's Tots showed up to stop it from happening, and this is going to be their dragon because KA just didn't make the play happen soon enough.
I was just about to they're even ahead of my caster cursing at this point because I was getting ready to tell praise KA for punishing this Taric Sona. The moment they don't have their summoners or their ult, that's another time you can get. Then you can punish their immobility and the lack of any real damage or anything like that. You can just constantly dive them, and they did that. They came back, they got the Sona again, but then they went for the tower dive without. They had waited a long time for trying to do that tower dive, so that gave time for Talk to get down there as well. And it picks up a triple kill and a shutdown on the Jarvan, and they get an Infernal Drake out of that. So that gives them both the Mount and the Infernal so far.
Yeah, and that play, it was slow and it was so telegraphed. You saw that teleport coming out of a God of Love on the Scion. Like, the instant that KA showed up. But I'm talking about this, but we got another fight coming down. The Taric ult's going to land. The Fear Beyond Death is going to hit up the Sona, give the Fear onto Doc. The Flay's going to knock back into the team. And now Scott's Tots overextends. KA pulls the trigger, says, we overextended and gave up something, but now you're overextending and you're going to give us something back. So that's going to be a second turret over to KA. Kills Areolas, realizing that they have the ability to make that kill happen. So they lose the first fight, they lose the dragon, but then they win the second fight and secure that bot turret.
And Sivir did pick up the shutdown onto Doc there, and on top of one stake there is the Quang on the Sona stepped out of the Tark ult as soon as that Descendant landed. She had stepped out of it, so when she got pulled back in, there was no vulnerability on her, and she had already used her ult at that point, so there was nothing to help her get out alive, and at that point they were able to clean up the rest of the fight as well and get the turret. So as soon as we thought Scott's Tots had made a good play and got something back in, they greeted and stayed a little too long and got punished majorly for it.
Yep, it looks like KA has their sights set on a God of Love. The Scion ult is not on cooldown yet. It was used to try to go get Tropical Crayon in that dragon fight. So with the Death Sentence lands and with Melon Lust there, the box set down as well. It's going to take a while to kill a God of Love. Rander shows up, Doc shows up, Doc gets burst out. A lot of healing from that Hecarim, but Doc gives his life to save a God. So 1-for-0 in favor of KA. They thought they had a pick on the Scion, instead they got a pick on the Hecarim. I think they'll take it either way.
Yeah, small bit of panicking at this point. They're kind of burning everything there. God of Love had the flash. He was having a little difficult close to that wall there, but you know, if he was tanky enough as Scion with enough HP that he could probably just walk to that wall and still flash out and be perfectly safe. But Doc, you know, trying to be the hero, did come in trying to help his top laner and died for it. God of Love did get out alive, so they do only lose the 1 kill at that point, but you know, you want to keep Hecarim ahead. That's kind of the whole thing with this, the abuse of the Tarek Sona as well, is if Hecarim's huge, you just overbuff him going into fights. But you know, if he gets to a point that he's not able to kill anybody during the duration of the Tarek ult or anything like that, they're not going to get as much out of this cheesy bot lane.
Yeah, and so we're seeing this split push in the top lane starting to work for Rander. The Black Cleaver's complete. Scion just doesn't have that much armor yet. It actually looks like he's going for a Titanic Hydra. Great for wave clear, not great for surviving Urgot damage. He's working with so little armor once Urgot gets those Black Cleaver stacks going. So God of Love's going to be pretty squishy in these fights, but the wave clear is there. Rander having a tough time getting towards the turret itself.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a strange build on his side for God of Love, especially because if he wanted the wave clear, he could have gone for the Sunfire and have the additional armor, the HP, and still the magic damage for the wave clear on his side. It's not quite as much as the Titanic Hydra, so he actually opted for the Sterak's Gauge instead, so he's going for the worst of both worlds. He's not going to have any wave clear or any armor. He is going to have the anti-burst and the shield, which can help a little bit during the all-in from Urgot, but Urgot doesn't really burst you down. He just kind of whittles you down, takes your armor away, and then uses the shotgun needs to just keep whittling you down so he can ult you. So the Sterak's Gauge is not going to do much for you in a 1v1 situation.
Yeah, I think I disagree with that build as well, especially due to the lack of real burst on the side of KA. Zilean does have a lot of damage, but Sterak's doesn't really help against Zilean. Once damage from Zilean comes out, there's no more to follow. Sivir's a high DPS threat. Sterak's isn't great against her. It does make the Scion tankier. It makes him better at engaging 1v5. He's not going to have to worry about his team not being there to follow up. But it does make his 1v1 so much worse. So it'll be interesting to see how Rander is able to capitalize on that as this game goes on.
Another thing I want to point out, they're actually caught blood.
Lands on Blonde Halfling. This time the Tarek does have ult. The ult comes down, the heal comes out just in time to keep Blonde Halfling alive. That Tarek ult is going to be just enough to save his life. KA not able to get a kill, and now that the Sona's there, Blonde Halfling is going to be healed right back up to full.
Yeah, it's not going to take them very long to get back because they're going to have to abandon that play, but it might give them time to set up around the dragon and get that set up for them. One thing I want to point out, though, is with the Tarek Sona combo also, you have 2 Sightstone items. You should have a lot of wards going down for free. They're now getting some wards now on their side here, but they have almost no vision going on for their side, despite having double the wards, essentially.
Yeah, the issue is that these support items, they haven't been upgraded yet, so both supports are only getting 3 wards each time they get back to base. Of course, that does raise their ward limit from 3 to 6 for the support combination, and you do get 6 wards instead of 4, but you'd like to see those being upgraded soon enough. It's actually a pretty gold-efficient upgrade on the whole, and it's pretty cheap, so it doesn't make sense that it hasn't been upgraded yet. It looks like Sona's just going for the AP. We see the teleport coming out of Tropical Crayon. We see the Death Sentence land onto Foreign Guy. There is no Terrapult for this fight. That's what that scrap bot lane does. Here comes the Sterak's from a God of Love. It does matter. Lots of fighting going down. A nice 3-man Scion cube, but the Fear Beyond Death's going to hit Scion. The Sona's going to get dunked up by Melon Loss. The Zillion Ult comes in at the right time to keep every member of KA alive. Only Pydude has gone down. Every member of Scott's Tots has gotten wiped to the floor. Doc and Foreign Guy walking out with only 200 HP. The Dragon's going to go over to the... Well, it could go over to the Baron, but they're just saying, screw the Dragon, let's get the Baron. They're walking there. Hecarim's going to be running as fast as possible. It's going to be a tough secure because that jungler is up. He does have Smite on cooldown, or off cooldown, that is. And Swain can walk there as quickly as possible too. There are teleports from the side of Scott's Tots. Scion can teleport into a ward. Swain can teleport into a ward, but it doesn't look like Scott's Tots has any idea. They're not even walking to the Dragon. They're just trying to get, or the Baron. They're just trying to go to the Dragon. They have no idea that this Baron is happening. There's so much vision control from KA, and that is a secured Baron from Scott's Tots. All they did is walk to the Dragon. Hecarim could have been there in time to try to make the steal happen.
Yeah, they are going to get another Infernal Drake, which is really good for their comp. They, the Hecarim, the Swain, the Sona. Sona wants as much AP as she wants in this situation. But yeah, losing a Baron for that 22 minutes is not what you want to do. I mean, they definitely got the most out of it that they could with the situation, but they actually shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. They didn't have the Tark ult. Sona was by herself in the river in front of everybody and was taking a lot of damage before that fight even took off, before she had to flash back into her team for safety. And they didn't have the Tark ult either for them, which is their whole shtick. They need to have that in there to run these team fights, and they fought without it. We see what happens if they don't use the full power of these two picks.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's when you're the Taric, you have to think, I should keep myself alive, but sometimes it's worth dying if it means saving your ult cooldown. Here comes the Taric ult again. A death sentence does land. Pydude's actually going to go down to the turret. Quang going to follow. It's a 1-for-1 so far, so here goes Melon Loss underneath the turret. The double bomb going to land. Here comes Doc with that Hecarim ulti, but there's a Zillion ult on the Sivir. They're going to run that Hecarim down. The Conqueror damage is there, but not there enough. And that is a 3-for-1 in favor of KA. A nice death sentence. Pydude gave his life to make it happen. Now Melon Loss is flashing in on the blonde halfling. Not sure about that one, Melon Loss. You're just going to die to that inhibitor turret. But it's still going to be great for KA. They're able to crack the base. Looks like this inhibitor is going to be going down. And the Urgot in the top lane has been split pushing successfully as well.
And Melon Loss did just buy the Guardian Angel to help maybe not do that same thing twice in a row. But it did have to send blonde halfling back to the base, so he was no longer able to defend that turret. I'm not sure he would be able to either way, but it does get them the inhib at 24 minutes, and they're still working the top lane tower down. Yeah,
that top lane inhibitor very close to dead. Now Rander in a little bit of trouble, but there's so much damage from that Urgot. Blonde halfling actually getting dangerously low. The Fear Beyond Death comes in, but the Urgot goes down just before it can get the kill. The Fear might have been enough to save Rander's life, but by just a matter of seconds, Rander goes down instead of securing.
Wait a minute.
And here comes Hecarim. Not having a bad day, is not having a good day. That's a dead Sivir.
2 shutdowns on the strongest members. Well, I guess actually 3 shutdowns. They shut down Jarvan ahead of time. Technically went to the support, so that doesn't matter as much. But still a shutdown going over from the Jarvan. There's a shutdown going over from the Sivir, and there's a shutdown going over on Rander on the Urgot. So while they did get the inhib mid and they did take down the top lane turret as well, and they have an open inhib there, that's a lot of gold they gave back for no good reason.
Yeah, despite being up 7 turrets to 0, their gold lead's only a little more than 5.5k. A lot of that's due to the gold generation strategy out of that bot lane. But here comes a death sentence onto Doc. Doc is going to go down. It's going to take a little longer than expected, and actually Doc is going to run out of there. Quang's the one going down. Somehow Doc survives that, running out with just 100 HP. It's enough to survive the Sona heal and ultimate, enough to kite and save that Hecarim, but it does cost the Sona her life instead. So KA still getting the pick that they were looking for, just on the wrong member. Hecarim has no cooldowns. The Baron is still up for them, and they're going to be looking to crack the base again. While all of that was happening, the top lane inhibitor actually fell as well. Or the top lane inhibitor turret, I mean.
Oh, yeah, that turret went down, and, but yeah, they're actually going to go all into it. They're trying to give up as much as they have to.
Going in, it's going to miss, not having a bad day, is stuck between a Scion and a Swain, but Scion goes down. It's just enough damage. Melon Loss going to go down, but there's a GA up. Tropical Crayon trying to get there, but that Scion passive is doing so much damage. Zillion going to have to resurrect. The Thresh is down. Goodbye, Pie Dude.
Oh!
Here comes Blonde Halfling getting a 2-person stun. This fight is clustered and scattered all over the place. People are dropping left and right. KA goes down. Melonloss is dead. It's just not having a bad day in Rander. It's the 2 damage carries. The 2 of them are actually maybe going to be able to melt Foreign Guy and Quang.
Oh!
But here comes Doc running over, not having a bad day for the second time this game. Rander desperately trying to get another kill, but it's not going to happen. That is an ace for Scott's Toss. All they lost, I believe, were 2 members, perhaps 3, with Quang coming back up from the death time.
So
What just happened, Goldline?
They're greedy. They're being greedy. Instead of standing there with their Baron and trying to take the turret, they played around the wall. They jumped over the wall. Melanoff went in 1v4 by himself, lost a Guardian Angel and his life trying to get that kill. It's just being greedy and not being patient. They thought, you know, we're super strong right now. Let's go all in and we can just end the game right now. But they didn't need to do that, and they dumped everything into the 2 tanks. They were only able to kill Silent and the Tark, but that whole time, Foreign Guy, Doc, and Quang were all able to go untouched, keep sustaining up, keep poking out damage, and then we saw Doc just come back in and delete the Sivir when there's nothing to stop him from doing that.
With the inhibitor turret down, though, it's going to be easy for KA to start looking towards ending this game if they're able to win another fight. A triple inhib is going to spell certain doom for Scott's Tots, I believe. With no AD carry, the wave clear is just kind of missing. You're really looking for someone with a high damage threat to go. Right now, it's the Infernal Drake that's on the map. Von Halfling going to get stunned up by Tropical Crayon. No one from Scott's Tots is there to fight. The smite misses, but no one's there to steal. And now Rander's looking for the fight. Here comes Doc, getting about half of not having a bad day's health bar with that engage. But now Quang and Rander are onto that Sona. The Fear Beyond Death is going to come in. A God of Love is the next target going down as well. It's 2 for nothing so far, and soon after it's going to be Foreign Guy and Doc. Tark ult coming in way too late. It's going to miss a Foreign Guy. Doc runs in with that Hecarim ult, but long after the fight's already over. Not having a bad day, gonna get some revenge and kill that Hecarim, turn him into glue. There are super minions punching at the base of Scott's Tots. KA gets the clean 5-for-0 ace, and they are going to look to end this game and take the series 2-1.
Yeah, God Love's gonna be up here in actually 10 seconds. They're gonna be getting here, most likely gonna be out of the game. They're still struggling to get there. Quang and God of Love are gonna come up here, maybe stall it out. Don't see it happening. They just, unfortunately, the Sona and the Tark just were almost never together in the mid game. So the whole point of picking these 2 gods, oh, that's a big
Sona ult, but it doesn't matter. KA, just focus the Nexus down, get the kill. They win that team fight with the Tarek not even there, and that's big for KA. They're able to pull out the win in week 4, prove that their group isn't the weakest group in Dominate. They can pull out wins against teams that share the same record as them. Looking good for KA for playoffs as well. They ascend to a 3-1 record. Scott's Tots now 2-2. They're going to need to bounce back next week, get some wins while they're outside of their group in order to look towards playoffs as this season goes on. Congratulations to KA. Keola's Areolas taking the win. 2-1, well played by them, and GG.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody tuning in tonight to watch this clash. It was definitely a very hyped series the whole time. The first game was incredibly back and forth, and it was definitely probably straining on the players to go through that kind of game, to still play 2 more games after that. But yeah, Keola's Areolas did able to have the mental fortitude to come back after that disappointing loss in the first round and pretty cleanly win both games after that. They were some messy points where they had their lead and kind of threw it just a little bit, but they came back just as well, able to close out the games nice and effectively. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they improve from here, continue to see if they can dominate their side of the group here. This is going to put Scott's Tots down a little bit farther in their group. Not quite out of it yet. They do still have 1 victory, so that's going to make it a little easier for them looking forward in the future. They might be able to clean up and get back into the race as well. But we appreciate everybody coming out to watch tonight. I was joined today by Cole. My name is Goldline, and you guys have a great evening.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go. I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone.